stream appear in a few seconds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this momentous occasion. It is midnight in the UK, and I'm delighted that the first group of people that are kicking off the Event Relief 24-hour global Vodcast marathon raising funds for EventWell are my good friends, David Adler and Ashton Pike. And David and Ashton will introduce themselves, and they're also going to introduce the first people that are with them on screen, Brianna and Arazan. Hopefully I've pronounced that correctly. And then they're going to bring some other people in. So David, I'm going to hand over to you. You can tell us what you're going to be doing.
Great.
Go for it.
Thank you, Dan, so much for having us. This is a very special issue of my podcast, Gather Geeks from BizBash, and we're doing it in association with your Vodcast, your 24-hour marathon podcasting, vodcasting world here, and we're so excited to be part of it. And it's all for a good cause. Tell us a little bit, Dan, what EventWell is before we start.
Yeah, it's a very good question. And the good news is we are live and it is working. We've already got 6 people watching, so that's good. So EventWell are a mental health and well-being charity. And so for the last few years, they've helped people with those 2 issues. They support people in ways like they do discussions, they do yoga sessions, all this sort of stuff you can get involved with. And then during the pandemic, so over the last year, they set up a separate, initiative called EventWell Pledge. And lots of people around the world, and definitely here in the UK, have fallen through the cracks of government support. And even if they got made redundant and had, a few weeks of pay, clearly that wasn't enough because they couldn't necessarily get another job. And so EventWell Pledge is an opportunity for people to pledge money, gifts, food, anything to people that need it. And the people that need it can apply confidentially. And it's been phenomenal. They've given away thousands of pounds worth of both products and money. I've been told some specific stories of people that weren't able to feed their children or pay the mortgage. So the excellent news as well is that whilst EventWell started in the UK, they have launching a US chapter and also Canada, which is fantastic. So guys, the money that we're raising here and the fact that you guys are on doing this program is really going to a good cause. And the good news is, even before we started, we've already raised £2,300, which is about $3,000. We had an initial target of about $7,000, so we're almost halfway, and we're going to smash through that. So hopefully that's a bit of an introduction, David.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dan. And I'm going to turn it over to Ashton right away to tell us what we're going to do today.
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks to everybody listening in tonight. So we are honored to be kicking off this great cause with a sample of what the next generation of event professionals think about the predicament that they're currently in. The industry is in a lengthy pause with 12 million American hospitality workers out of work, and we've changed our behaviors in unprecedented ways, and all the traditions and habits that we've built over many years are out the window. One thing we learned is that we will figure out as any way possible, and that our industry will never be the same.
And can you imagine if you were graduating this year? Dan, would you imagine graduating this year is not the most fun? We have our own EventWell world that we need to help this next generation, who are going to be the people that are going to be rising from the ashes to help bring this industry back. We are going to hear from 2 of our future leaders of the world and hear about what's going on in their world and how do they see what's going on. They are the ones that go to the that are the eye rollers when we say something and they say, "Oh my God, that's nothing. You don't know what you're talking about." So we want to really hear what people are thinking in this next generation, and we're going to then discuss with the administrators and the people that run all the big event schools in the United States, at least, which are really all around the world, and hear what they're seeing and hear how they're approaching this next generation. So we want to really frame this discussion in how we can reshape the industry and what works and what your challenges are. So Ashton, why don't we introduce our 2 students and take it away, and let's get some feedback from the real world.
Absolutely. Brianna, we would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us, where you're from, what school you're currently at, and, how you've been doing.
Absolutely. So yes, my name is Brianna Stewart. First, I want to say thank you to having me on here. I'm a student at New York University in the MS and Event Management program. I'm actually from Indianapolis, Indiana, and that's where I currently am right now. COVID took me away from campus, but it's been all right. We've pivoted to online learning, and that's been wonderful. And right now, I'm currently employed at a marketing firm, but we do events in kind of a different way. It's like events with our clients, and so it's not events how we think of it, but it's kind of getting back out there and being open to people and communicating. So an event in a way. So thank you.
Thanks for being here with us tonight, Brianna. And Arzan, tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's honestly an honor and absolute pleasure to be here today with you. I am actually that student that just graduated December 2020. And unfortunately, I had my graduation via Zoom. So it wasn't the most pleasant time, but hopefully everything will be better in future. And just like Brianna, I work in a marketing department of Bacardi. I got the internship last year. First of all, it started as a virtual internship, and I also had virtual classes online. But now we're going back to the office only like twice a week. And we're also just launching some events and some new products. That's why the event industry will never be the same, but getting there.
Absolutely. So both of you are recent graduates from college and had to experience going from real life to virtual. And so we just want to know what that was like for both of you, and, how did you cope with that? And, how did you deal with the world of virtual learning?
Right. So I actually currently am still a student within the master's program. And I was only on campus for 6 weeks in person. So I was just getting my first taste of New York and New York University. And then I came home for spring break, and I have been on spring break ever since. So I've been stationed at home. But going from that classroom setting that I've grown up with my entire life, I've never learned an online method. That was very difficult taking that pivot. But I do think that it was difficult for everyone. It wasn't just an individual case. Even the professors were struggling. Every other student was struggling. Employers were struggling. So in that, we kind of came together and we made it work, and we made fluctuations within our curriculum and how we do our projects and work together. And with that, I think we made it through. And so I'm very proud of our university and everyone who took a part of that and made it through our semester. And now everything's much better and clear and succinct.
Can I jump in and ask you a question about when did the light bulb go off that it was working, or how bad was the frustration that you were able to tell people that this wasn't working? Because you're sitting there isolated in your home. How do you scream?
I mean, it was extremely frustrating, but I think what made it work was connecting with everybody else and sharing that same sentiment, knowing I wasn't alone with this frustration and this difficulty of getting through my courses now, not being in person and having questions and interacting with my fellow students.
What was the frustration? What was the frustration? Because all the lessons we're learning from virtual learning is part of virtual events. So maybe there's some things you can pull out of that can help people understand what that frustration was as the person on the other side of the screen.
Right. I think it was the initial shock of having to just go from something you're so used to, like in our curriculum, but also events in general. Like you're in person, you want to experience it, to now it's has a barrier. It's the screen, and I'm here and you're there, and we're not sharing in that same experience in what we're always used to. So that was my frustration. It just didn't feel the same. I didn't feel like I was in a classroom. I didn't feel like I was a student. I just felt alone, secluded, and listening to something and not really being present. But that took a lot to get through. And I think what helped was hearing that even my professors are feeling the same way, that their teaching style was, they had to pivot and learn, and the students as well. So getting through that together, I think, is what the biggest takeaway. And if I could tell anybody, You would just have to connect with other people that are going through the same thing that you are and sharing your ideas and expressing it, because keeping it in won't help at all.
And how do you express it? Are you like chatting in the chat thing? This sucks, or are you like?
I know that my dean is listening, but yes, that did happen sometimes. I was like, "This is really horrible. Like, do you understand what's going on?" And it was a lot of that. And then I, of course, had some friends in the program I would talk to afterwards. I would reach out to my professors, express like how I'm dealing with this, and it's difficult for me to understand the information, or just feeling disconnected in general. So keeping that open communication, both socially and on a professional level too.
What happened on your watch?
Yes, I think I forgot to mention that I was actually a student at Florida International University in Miami at FIU, and they tried to do the best, like what is possible to do. For example, we had a really interesting class, which is event management by Dan Cormany, who's actually here, we'll be talking. And he tried to bring a lot of speakers from different parts of the world. And that was amazing because honestly, I think this quarantine helped us. As Brianna mentioned, it was a challenge, but at the same time, it showed us that we can connect even from different parts of the world. That was the best thing, because right now, if a professional person cannot make it from, let's say, from Dubai to Miami and come to the class, right now he can easily be with us online and just share his experience. And I think in that point, it was a really amazing and new way to look at it, because right now we can do a lot of things differently, but at the same time it can be all done in the same professional level. For example, right now with Bacardi, we do a lot of virtual tastings with Martini and Rossi. We just ship the product, but then at the same time we're having a virtual conversation, the presentation, and I think it feels the same as it would feel if people were actually here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did have a question. So I wanted to know what did you love about the event industry and why you decided to pursue a career in it? You know, you went to school for it, and can you still pursue that passion? You know, I can only imagine going into a degree and wanting, you know, the closeness of events, the interactions of events. Will what you loved still be there?
I actually originally from Kazakhstan, which is really, really far away from here. It's like 24 hours by plane, and it's close to Russia. That's why you can hear my Russian accent. But events over there, I think it's in my DNA, because we love to celebrate. We love to throw big, huge parties for like 500, 1,000 people. Our weddings are just huge and so fun. That's why I think growing up, I was looking at it, and I was just taking everything I would from my culture, from people that I love, and I was looking and getting inspired to bring those positive energy and emotions to other people. That's why I tried to come to the United States to get the most excellent education ever of like events and get that experience, and then bring it back to the world and share it with everyone. And since I was a child, as I mentioned, like I was so passionate about events that I think even right now we can make that happen. Like even if the world is not going to be the same, I still believe that it's in our hands to make those events be still memorable, be still joyful and pleasant.
So what did you see, before we ask Brianna the same question, what did you see when you came to the United States that you were either like, oh my God, this is so cool, or, oh my God, I can't believe how bad this is? Like, did you have those moments?
Honestly, first time when I was working when I was working at the country club, and when I saw a wedding for like 50, 60 people, I was a little bit shocked, because I expected United States to be more the same as us, like to throw big events and big parties. But then I was working also at the Super Bowl, and then at that place I saw a huge difference between just weddings and mega event. That was my big, I think, insight that I took, that actually that showed me that I want to be in mega events, not just weddings or just different little events.
Rihanna, do you want to answer Ashton's question? I don't want to. I'm interrupting. I'm apologizing in advance.
No, you're fine, David.
No, certainly. So I actually didn't start in events. I had a kind of a topsy-turvy way of getting here. I was pre-PA and I have an English degree. So I arrived at events after deciding that going into the medical field really wouldn't fulfill my joy in my life. And so that's when I came towards events. I just realized I always loved throwing parties for my families and my sisters especially. They're my favorite people in the world. And just seeing the joy of people's faces when they came in and setting everything up so it would be so exciting for everyone. Like, I want to live that every day and present that to people. So I was like, I didn't even know this was a career opportunity until after I graduated. So I came into it late in the game, and really this master's program is my first taste of it. So I've yet to have actually professional experience working with events. So it really is just my education at this point. But that's what brought me here. And I think what's fueling me to get through this pandemic and my original thought of what events were going to be as my career to the reality of it now is I have hope that we will return to how it was before COVID. It may not be in the next 5 years or maybe not the next 10, but really? I do believe that we will return in a sense to what we were before. Like, we will have those mega concerts and those huge conventions where we're next to each other interacting. I just don't see the world completely never returning to that. And I can't give it time, but that's what's fueling me to go forward. And in the meantime, I think it's important that we bring joy to the real mundaneness of this pandemic and the sadness. And that is what fuels these virtual events. Like, we need something to do. We can't do it in person yet, but we can still give all our energy into doing it like this, virtually, something for people to have hope for.
So we get beaten up a lot because in the event industry, because people think we're about parties. What is underneath that throwing parties that gets that articulates it more? Because we're doing something much more important than throwing a party. What do you think? What is your thinking on that?
We are bringing emotions. I mean, that's everything in hospitality. It's about emotions. People want to go to eat at the restaurant, not because of the food, but because of the whole experience, because of the atmosphere, because of the aura, because of the energy. And I think in the events, they can watch events online. They can go to YouTube and just Google their favorite singer, but they want to go to a concert to feel that, to experience other person's energy. I mean, I believe that's why we have those events.
I call it that we're scaling intimacy. It's a kind of an interesting way of putting it, because that connection, like when you see someone and we're connecting on these kind of conversations that are real, because you're not, just reading from a script. I think it makes a lot of sense. You talked about the international aspects of it. I think, we're like in the music travels around the world, events travel around the world. What are you seeing now? We had a little bit of a conversation about what you're seeing from your colleagues and your other people of your generation and friends in hospitality in Asia. You were talking about some really interesting things that you're seeing.
Yes, actually, during the pandemic, one of my friends, he's a flight attendant. So he went to China right during the pandemic. I think it was in March or April. And he mentioned that in the hotels, there were no people. The hotel was completely like a ghost hotel. It was so empty that they only had robots inside. Robots were checking you in, checking you out. Robots were giving you food. And he actually shared some videos and pictures of that, because I think that was super modern. I never expected robots to replace humans, if we can call it. But that was super interesting, because we never knew that would happen. But pandemic showed us that maybe there are opportunities that we don't need people for some things.
Do you think we're going to see robots at events?
Hopefully no. Hopefully no. But maybe to have like right now they have some self kiosks where you just have to show your ticket, and we don't need a guard or someone. So maybe in future robots are going to be everywhere.
Can you also give me a little bit of insights? It's just us. I want to know, your generation that's you do e-gaming and all that kind of stuff. What do you think of our virtual events when you understand the technology that's in e-gaming? Are we behind? Are you laughing at us?
No, actually, also during the pandemic, I saw that there is a platform, I think it's called Twitch. Brianna, I think it's called Twitch. And they were showing some virtual concerts. And also in the PlayStation 4, they had a game that called Fortnite. And they had a concert of a favorite, of the famous rapper. And I think it was pretty intense, and it was pretty beautiful and I think it's here. Like, the future is actually here. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if we will have a virtual events, maybe with some virtual experience, like glasses.
John is nodding.
Yes, I mean, I completely agree with you. And it's funny that you mentioned a Twitch concert. I actually attended one early on in the pandemic with my friends. My friend is in Spain, and then he invited us to it, and we watched it here in Indianapolis together. And it was just truly amazing that we could connect from worlds away and to this person that we don't know and we didn't buy a ticket for. But I really do think for this kind of event type to work, the virtual events, it really takes some initiative of the people watching as well to build those connections and set it up on your end. Like we decorated our space and we got dressed up and pretended we were going out as if it was an actual event. And so I think it takes some real care for the people watching it to make it special, because we can only do so much to this level. And then if they really want to make it something, then it really is the people and who you're with that builds that connections that is missing from not being there in person. So I totally agree with you. And I will say I did have a lot of fun, which I was surprised.
Ashton, you want to either ask one more question and then we'll bring in the adults.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not I'm an adult.
The adult. Absolutely. So moving forward, obviously y'all's event education was different and will still be different as you finish your degrees. How do you see event education changing or needs to change in the future for the next round of event professionals that come in, even if it's just, the freshmen starting next year and we take what we've learned and implement it in new ways? Do you see virtual becoming part, like virtual event management becoming part of the curriculum? How do you think it should change to better prepare the next generation behind you?
I think that that's especially now going to be absolutely necessary. We don't know how long this is going to last and when we can, if ever, return to how we did events beforehand. So definitely learning that back end of how to do a virtual event, different emerging event technologies, how to work with different computer systems like that, I think is going to be absolutely necessary for anyone to be successful in the near future. Do I think that maybe later on it won't be a core curriculum? Perhaps it might be an elective as we veer away and maybe things improve with COVID, perhaps. But I think from this point on, technology isn't going anywhere as we get farther and farther into, 2020 or this century. So I don't think it's leaving us anytime soon. So keeping up with that is only the smartest way to go about teaching new students.
Great. So do you want to bring everyone else in the room? And we'll bring you guys in the room and we can answer some of these questions later. I just want to make sure we get everybody in before we run out of time, even though we have plenty of time.
Cool. So you want me to add Lynn?
Yep, Lynn.
Latoya?
Everybody, everyone else, bring them all in and fantastic. Cool. So let me start. Well, let's see how we're going to do this. Okay. Oh my God, we got 8. This is the Brady Bunch one, right? I don't even know if these guys know what the Brady Bunch is, but
I do.
Good. I was going to ask you where you were on 9/11, but I couldn't even do that. Let's start with. Let's see. Where do we have on the screen? Let's see. Let's start on the bottom. Dan. Yeah. Dan Carmody is the PhD. Is the lead events and entertainment management program at the Chaplin School of Hospitality and Tourism at Florida International University. So say hello, Dan, and just say a couple words about your sense of what you heard from these kids.
Well, I'm proud of FIU. I'm also very proud of Azeron too. She represented us very well, and I agree with a lot of both what Azeron and Brianna had to share.
Great. Let's now go to John Nicer. He's the director of the International School of Hospitality, Sports, and Tourism Management at Fairleigh Dickinson University. John and I just had a huge conversation the other day, and we bonded on almost everything. So what did you think? We're going to pretend we're on CNN and hearing the discussion from the important people.
I wrote, and I think I shared that with you last week, I wrote a piece that was actually published in the UK where I said that we might be creating inadvertently the best cohort of students ever. And you confirm that somewhere in how you were talking, because look down the road in 5 years' time. What are you going to say when you're in front of a recruiter who's going to say, what were you doing in 2020? If you answer, I was watching Netflix and I saw all the series, that's not going to wash very well. You're going to have to. So the people who are going to make it are the people who have done something and who've shown the grit, the determination, certain qualities that employers are looking for. I also think that the conversation is going in the direction of saying that the jobs are going to change. And part of it is, the conversation around investors is, we're doing quite well without so many people working for us, and that's a terrible thing, because that's going to put a lot of pressure on how we do business. And I think we've been forced to do business smarter. We've been forced into adopting technology. We've got a whole generation of people that have bonded in that technology, and you talked about that, how you were bonding with your faculty and all that. That's terrifically important, because it's actually changing the way in which we communicate. And so you can imagine things that 2 years ago, Brianna, you were talking about that concert. Would you have thought of that 2 years ago? Probably not. You know what I mean? Now you've got that in your repertoire, and you can use that and you can deploy those skills. But I think, to me, there's always a message of hope in these things. There's collateral damage. Any pandemic, war, major catastrophe has got terrific collateral damage. And, it's horrible, and we have to do what we can do to minimize that, mitigate the effect. But at the end of the day, as an individual, you've got to go forwards, and you've just got to fight with what you have.
That's great. I just can't wait for the first trade show on Twitch. That's going to happen. Lynn Menard, from the academic chair and the clinical associate professor at the Jonathan Tisch Center for Hospitality in NYU, I've worked with NYU. I'm on the board of one of their boards, and I love working with NYU, and I've done it for years. And they're one of the great hospitality schools, as are all the others. Lynn, what did you think from what you heard, and is it what you hear every day in your job?
Well, it is and it isn't, because of course Brianna and Arujan are both incredibly talented, polished students who come out here and put their best foot forward. We've definitely seen that, and we've seen the upside, and then we've also seen, of course, the downside of online learning and how it was difficult. So I definitely don't want to pretend it was all smooth sailing. But what these students have both pointed at is they've really seen the industry build the plane while it was flying it, and I think there's a lot of benefit in that, right? We had the CEO of Emerald with us last week, and he said, well, we tried to recreate trade shows virtually as a trade show, recreating the in-person experience. It didn't work. It was a terrible idea. And so now we're changing and we're trying something completely different. So I think that is really interesting to see. They see on the front lines really how the industry is recreating itself. And some of it might turn back to what it was before, and some of it will be completely
How did you
new.
feel when evolution on your hands, when they said they didn't like what they were getting virtually? Did you sort of take that criticism well?
Well, yes, I think most universities, I think, will be honest enough when we were all asked to pivot on a dime to online learning, that was an uphill battle, particularly for some of our faculty who were maybe less used to online teaching, who were opposed to online teaching. It wasn't easy, but I'd like to think that, again, we have built the plane while flying it, and the plane is getting better. But I can't wait for it to be a real actual plane again, I got to say, and have students in my classroom with me.
Before we go into a general conversation, I want to introduce Latoya Lewis. And I want to preface this by saying every time I do an interview on Gather Geeks or any time I do something with events, and I ask the question, like, when did you start? Everyone seems to say in high school. They did something in high school and their eyes light up like it was the most magic thing that they ever did, whether they realized they were in the event industry or not. And so Latoya is the head of executive director of EventWell that helps kids who are not in some of the best schools in the world understand the power of events. And I see their eyes light up when they are introduced to this world. So high school is also a key part. Latoya, talk a little bit about what you're up to and how it impacts what we're talking about today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, David and Dan, for having me here. EventWell is a workforce development program that targets high school students to teach them different career paths within live events. And so I know, just like you, Brianna, your story sounded just like mine. I had a first career before events. I had no clue that there was even a pathway to this industry. And I realized that I was doing event in high school and I didn't know it. I was doing prom, I was doing selling candy, dances, and things like that. And so I thought that there would be real value to introduce high school students to this industry that has so many different opportunities. No matter your personality type, there's really opportunity and variety within our industry. And that if you're not, have the access to college or the opportunity to go to college, that you can still have a pathway and a pipeline to these types of careers and these opportunities. So I'm very happy to be here today. And as I was listening to the conversation and similar to what you were saying, Lynn, I was part of the music industry when Napster came along. So I'm kind of dating myself. And we had to absolutely build the plane at the same time. There's so much value to be a part of an industry that's going to transition. You have to learn and grow as it's going. And so for all of the negatives that the pandemic has brought, I agree with you, Arajan, that there's been a lot of positives as well in that.
So let's go into the conversation a little bit. First of all, I want to say that being an entrepreneur is like flying a plane while it's being constructed too. And I'm sure all of us that have done it. And every event is almost like that when you think about it. But how has the pandemic really influenced the way you're changing education? Are there any structural changes that you're seeing? And also, what are you teaching? What is an event school? Because people don't really understand. There's so many aspects to events and that it's not, the whole trade show side of it is incredibly important. The economic impact is important, and the bringing people together and the solving problems. When you think about what an event is, what is it? How do you teach it? That's a broad question. We're not going to answer it in the next 20 minutes, but give us your insight. Lynn, you want to start?
Sure. I mean, just to give an idea of what the program would usually look like for us at NYU, it's a really left brain, right brain kind of program. On the one hand, you have your business core where you learn the more technical side of events, I guess, finance, marketing, contracts and risks, etc. And that is the side of the detail-oriented side. And then on the other hand, you have the creative side that perhaps goes more into design, production, operations. And so we try and combine those two things with as much industry input as possible. And David, I know you're a big part of that. So trying to make it as applicable to real life as we can.
But it's the broad industry. When you think about events, there's so many things that you can go through. And like we get tarred with the party thing, which is kind of a 4-letter word in the event business. But you learn from all of that. So how do you sort of get people on a career path? How do you get them into trade shows? How do you get them into concerts? How do you get them into other types of hospitality that have more action, let's say?
Well, our faculty play a massive role in that. So our faculty are usually event professionals. And I'm sorry if that was named at me. I'm not too sure where you're looking.
Well, then we're going to move around. Everybody has plenty to say. That you guys are professors. So I got a feeling this is going to be, we're not going to have any moments of silence.
So the faculty play a massive role. And then, of course, we bring in, we have specific subjects and courses on certain types of events, and then we bring in special topics. Like, for example, we're going to do a not-for-profit event course next semester. We might do one on weddings after. So we have the niche topics and then the broader field as well.
John, how do you guys sort of think of education, and how has it changed dramatically in this moment?
Well, as you were answering, it's really good, Lynn. You answered first, but it gave me time to think. But I've been talking with my faculty about the kick in the butt that education has received a lot, because what's happened now has really made us think much more deeply about what are we actually doing here? What's the purpose of this? And how audible are we as educators to a generation that is seeing things differently, experiencing things, consuming things differently? I think.
What did you discover?
You have to start with the basic understanding that the monopoly of the production, dissemination, distribution, storage, and consumption of knowledge is lost to universities. We don't have that monopoly anymore, right? We give a stamp, we give a degree, but that's a very weak business proposition if you think about it. And you can go and fetch information in a lot of places outside of the university that's more current, that's more entertaining, that's in easier bite-sized modules. We've all experienced it. Okay, if we have a problem with Excel, we don't go to college, we go to YouTube, right? We've done it, all right? So I think this is where we're sort of thinking. In practical terms, when you look at the entertainment business, I am an enormous believer in the Renaissance person, all right? Because I think that to put on an incredibly good event, you've got to have an enormous cultural repertoire, deep cultural repertoire. You've got to know something about opera. You've got to know something about Camus. You've got to know something about, the Chinese culture and how, if you lock the student into some kind of stereotypical ways of looking at the party, as you said, you've not done your job. You've missed the point somewhere. And that comes to the fundamental difference between a technical side of education. I think, Lynn, you were addressing that in a certain sense, which is the mechanical side and, the vernacular you need to have to be able to work in an industry, with the real difference a university does, which is changing the way people actually envisage the world by giving them a larger repertoire, a largely library of experiences they can draw on.
Well, isn't art, events at university mirror what goes on in the real world too? I mean, going to school, going to a class is an event.
Except for one thing. So one recruiter once said to me, one thing you don't do is you don't teach about conflict. And I thought, yes, we at universities, we're really good at avoiding conflict at any cost. We'll do everything we can not to have conflict between the students, between the faculty. But when they go out in the real life, there are certain things that are there. There's a cruelty that's a real life that is very difficult to replicate in a play environment. And I'm going to say play environment, thinking of Winnicott and Play and Reality and this kind of context.
So before I go into Dan, I want to give permission. Can I get permission to the students and the recent graduates to call us out on any BS? Okay. You can pick up your permission. Okay, Dan.
Before I start talking. Well, there's also a different way that the students are learning. I've been teaching I've been in higher education on and off since the 70s. And the students don't read anymore. It's very difficult to get them to sit down and read through a textbook. When I was in Silicon Valley, Cisco was saying that 80% of the information that's absorbed from the internet now is in videos and in pictures. And we use a lot of those to teach in the events program here because we want to get them thinking creatively. But I I agree with John's comment about conflict too. And the more that we can get the students out and working in, unfortunately in Miami, New York too, but in Miami, there's lots of events that they can volunteer for and work for. But that's where they begin seeing the real world. And that's where the click between what we're talking in class and what is actually happening, that's where that clash kind of happened, I think. Arun did a lot of, Azaran did a lot of volunteering for us. I couldn't keep her in class because she was constantly volunteering and going somewhere to do something. But that's why she was one of our top graduates, because she had that experience. And with the pandemic, we've had the opportunity to bring in a lot of speakers through Zoom. And it's been kind of interesting because they are going through, in some ways, the same redefining as we are. And it's almost a sharing of what they are and who they are. And some of them are rather proud. We had one the other day that comes from a general service contractor perspective, and he was the one that was responsible for setting up the entire operation at Miami Beach Convention Center for the pandemic when they converted that into a hospital. And we had others that were talking about how they learned how project management skills that they had that they thought were just event skills were now doing drive-through testing and so forth. So there's a lot of I think rethinking what our skills are, not only on a higher ed sense, but in general.
I think that you're 100% right. I think that what I'm seeing is that event organizers are now getting the respect of the C-suite because they are the closest people to both customers and employees, and they're being turned to. It's, oh my God, what do we do now? And they know, and that the cultural officer aspect of it is becoming more evident. And I think it's a good thing. Lynn, you were about to say something before I cut you off.
Oh, I wasn't. I think maybe it was LaToya you saw.
Okay, LaToya, did you have anything to say? I'm sorry. LaToya's.
No, it is, but I'm feeling really great about what I'm hearing because we actually have a course on conflict resolution that we teach our young people because they're just forming their professional selves. And as we know, in your teenage years, I mean, you probably dive into conflict. You probably want conflict. And so you can't always do that. But I think speaking from InventU standpoint, we changed our curriculum, or actually I should say enhanced our curriculum in response to 2020. We've added courses on pandemic response and event safety and virtual events. We're working to try to teach our students early on before they get to the industry these kinds of softwares that we'll have to learn as we professionals will have to implement these events. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the social justice and the protest events that we saw in 2020. We also have added a lesson about that because, as we all know, revolutions start with the young. You know, they start in the streets with young people, and our young people are very impassioned about going on, and they want to be a part of that. And why not teach that there's a way to do that? So we absolutely have listened to what's happening in society and tried to bring the current environment into the classroom.
How has for the teachers and the professors, the equity movement, have they infiltrated your curriculums as well in smart ways? Lynn?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's already, I think, at NYU a growing trend to have more IBDA courses and material in what we do, but then it became such a in-your-face requirement to do it, and if you weren't speaking up, or if you weren't lending support, you were definitely faulting other people rather than just not addressing the problem. So I wouldn't say it's an event-specific field, though. It's something that is touched upon throughout the whole university and the whole curriculum. But yes, of course, it has influenced what we do.
Yep.
From anything from recruiting to the kind of speakers we bring in, etc. It's permeating every aspect of what we do.
I think we're also in the end of the world where you go to a conference and they're all white men on the speakers.
Right,
I think people
right.
are thinking about that a lot more. John?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm a recent immigrant. I'm only 10 years in America, and got my citizenship 2 years ago, actually in Indiana. So fellow Hoosier. But when I came here, I was shocked because Europe is so multicultural by the nature of how Europe is that the conversation, yes, there's a conversation about the past, but it's not at all the same here. And it took me some time to adapt to the sensitivity and to the reality of America, right? Which is obviously very present. I kind of think universities were a little bit ahead of the game in many respects. Because they'd already done a lot for inclusion, especially in public universities. I was working for Purdue for 10 years and 11 years, and Purdue's a big public university, and had to have policies and everything was in place already well before. Now I think the challenge is not adding a course. The challenge is actually deeply sort of having this part of every course, having the right attitude towards inclusion everywhere. It's a little bit, it's the same conversation we have about sustainability. In the beginning we had a course on sustainability, and that's okay, but it's not a good approach. Sustainability has got to be everywhere. Inclusion has got to be everywhere in all the conversation, in everything we do. Otherwise, it's meaningless. The other thing I think is whether we want it or not, it's happening. The young people. I know somebody said, they're on the streets, they're voting with their feet. As educators, we're following a trend in a certain sense, which is not good because we should be actually preparing young people. My fear in this is that we've got to be extremely careful to keep the conversation completely open. Otherwise, there's going to be we're an easy target. You know what I mean? And you've seen this in the past few months, how easily the opposition, if you like, the people opposing this view, can actually use our own weapons against us. And that, I think, is the danger. And we've got to be very, very careful about this.
Let's take a break to go to the students and let's hear their feedback from what they're hearing and whether you see this, what we're saying, actually happening. And do you agree with these people that have been educating for years and years and years? And how do you see the future based on what you've heard from them? Either one of you can start. You're our stars, by the way. Brianna?
I can go ahead and start. Yes, I would say that I agree with everyone speaking thus far. I know you allowed us to call out anything you think is incorrect, but so far I agree with everything. And I've seen it in work within my curriculum at NYU, especially going back to having the real world events and real world situations implemented in the classroom. All of our professors are professionals themselves. So that was a huge difference from my undergrad where they're just educators primarily. So they're professionals first and then they became educators. And so having that kind of experience to go off of. And then all of our projects were always based in real world situations where we have to actually contact vendors, contact venues, and negotiate with people, talk to them, get real information and not just hypothetical. So I would completely agree that on that front, this education has been A1, 100% wonderful. And going to the diversity that Mr. Neisser was just touching on, I agree that at least I can see in the NYU campus, it has become so prevalent that it's just embedded in our culture. And it's only when that happens that I think we're going to see actual appreciation and change. Like it cannot just be a course or 2 weeks within a course where we talk about diversity or something like that. It has to be there 100% of the time. And it just has to be it's not an afterthought, but it can't be something that we can just easily point out, like, oh, that's diversity. Like, it should just be there no matter what. Like, if we're not going outside and seeing that the classroom reflected on the streets, like the people that we see out there and then reflected like in our faculty and our students, like then there's an issue. But so far I haven't seen that. So I'm very happy to say that about NYU.
Good. What do you think, Izra?
I also agree with everyone, and I think it's so important to have both sides and to learn both sides of events, to go to classes and be able to hear all the technical parts and everything from inside, but at the same time going to actual events and get the experience of the real world is also so important, because without that, I don't think it's, again, like, I think you can do it online, you can Google it, how to create your event, but the point of going to university and get to know people and learn from professionals is that you get both experiences, both like hands-on experience and lectures.
Right. What I would like to know. Oh, go ahead, John. Dr. John.
Yeah, just something came to my mind as you were talking, Zoran, and it comes from a book, The Hotel, from Sander van Strauss, and he traces back the history of the hotel. And he says, you see, the hotel, he says, is the neutral meeting ground. Okay, it has to be neutral meeting ground, right? Otherwise, it defeats its own purpose. And I think that is true for events as well. Events have to be a neutral ground, because otherwise, it's an impossible situation. I think we may not have been taking advantage of the very deep fractions in our society to teach our students to be neutral, because that's going to be a very important skill as you go along in your career. Not, to have that very, and amongst other nationalities, I'm Swiss and I've spent most of my time in Switzerland, so neutrality I know, right? Born and bred in neutrality. But it's a very, very, very arduous route, because it's it's not a question of not taking any stance, but it's a question of not taking sides, and that's a very, and we may not have actually done that. I don't know if Lynn or Dan, you can comment on this, but I don't feel we've done, we've taken advantage of the situation as much as we could.
Dan?
I've been asking our students to write down questions for guest speakers who are coming in before they come in. And I have been amazed this semester how many have been asking about conflict with vendors, conflict with clients, conflict with other meeting planners. And we have not really talked that much about conflict directly. So I'm not sure where this is coming from, but it's certainly a topic that has been coming up in the question and answer sections in the classes.
Ashton, do you have any? We're all getting down towards the end. I want to make sure that Ashton is the closest person. The ages
Still 3 minutes. Still 3 minutes. Fantastic discussion, which people are really enjoying.
Okay,
crack on.
Great.
Yeah, of course. A final question to round out this great conversation. I feel like the event industry, as we're rebuilding, we're really getting a chance to renew the industry as well. And much like all this conversation has been about, just taking recent events, both historical and, the pandemic, we can really rebuild the industry. So there's obviously some things that weren't working before, and now we have a chance to fix them because everything's almost starting fresh. So where do you think that this pandemic and, social events, uprising, give us an opportunity to redefine the event industry?
Who wants to go? Why don't we start with our stars?
If I can jump in, I think one of the big things that we've learned, and maybe Ashton, it doesn't address your question entirely, but it's to not replicate online what we do in person. I think that has really been a big learning. Like, there's all these computer programs that emulate, you walk into a room and you can sit next to someone, and it doesn't really work because we're being too literal. And I think, we might see that vice versa as well, that maybe once we go back, we take some of the best parts of online, try and put them in real life. And some of it may work and some of it may not. And I'm sorry if you can hear the sirens. That's New York for you.
It's New York. I missed it.
They're agreeing with me.
They're not coming to get you. They're not coming to get you, Lynn.
If I can say something, so I'm a psychologist and I'm a Piagetian psychologist, and Piaget, who did a lot of things wrong but did a lot of things right as usual, he talked about how you appropriate the instrument. You know, there's an instrumentalization of technology that has to happen. You can only do that by actually manipulating it, working with it. And I think that's probably the big takeaway, is that, and I think it was the students who said at the beginning, we had to work around the problems together. They instrumentalized the thing. And from as a psychologist, I find that absolutely the most fabulous statement, because it is really at the heart of learning. Learning is not sort of, drinking the stuff. It's actually building the stuff inside you. And when you build it with other people, it's an incredibly strong sort of knowledge that you have. I think that's what we've learned, And
we've learned not only about events, but we've also learned to capitalize on some of the other skills and other skill sets, like television producer or television director, the types of skills that are necessary for virtual events, and those are going to be expected of us still in hybrid events as well too. So I think we've operationalized, as John put it, the stuff that we've had to work with, but we've also reached out to other industries and learned from them too.
Who wants to go next? Latoya?
Well, I'll round out the adults, as you say. I would agree with that. I think that, technology is always the driver of change, it's the driver of transformation, but nothing will ever replace coming together as people, as face-to-face. It is a Maslow hierarchy in need. And so I think for us as an industry, it has reaffirmed that, that we'll transform, but we'll never, be replaced in that way. And so that should make anyone coming into this industry feel really great about coming into it. There will always be an event industry. It will transform just like every other industry. But at the end of the day, the coming together, the being together, that is a priceless experience that will always be there and always need people to orchestrate it.
Rihanna?
I completely agree with especially Miss Latoya Lewis on that last point, because as I stated earlier, I have such hope that we will return to being in person, but this is a in the meantime kind of thing. But what I'm most excited for, I suppose, moving forward for our industry, we are learning at the same time that we're experiencing all of this with technology. I wonder what would happen if we had a partner with people who are maybe in the gaming industry, or kind of on that side of things, and learning from their perspective, because they've done so well in capturing an audience and being engaging with having technology. What we can do if we work with them and learn from that industry, and to make our events more provoking and wonderful and for the future. So that's what I would be excited to do.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to jump in because I've got the next session waiting in the room. But listen, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. This is great.
You have people watching from Australia. You have people watching from Australia, which is fantastic, and really, really appreciate it. This, I think, proves that as event professionals, we can do a fantastic job of getting people together. I know we're not physically together, but hopefully one day in the not too distant future, I get to meet you all. So, David, thank you so much. I'm going to see you again in probably 18 hours.
4 o'clock tomorrow in New York. CISO, we're going to go in a producers roundtable.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. You guys great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was the first hour. I think it sort of went all right. And we've just had a hello from New Jersey from Kane Papas, which is possibly one of the best names I've ever read out on screen, which is fantastic. So thank you for listening, Kane. Next up, guys, I've got a session from my Canadian friends from Unwrapit, who are trying to get into the green room. So bear with me 2 seconds, and I will be straight back. I've got a session from my Canadian friends from. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, I can. How are you?
This is the joys of doing the tech, hosting.
You are just doing it all. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed.
You are now, but in about 12 hours, God knows what's going to happen. Yes, it works. We've got my Canadian friends on.
Hello.
I'm sorry you had to wait because at the moment, this software, I think the package I've got only allows 10 regardless of where they are. So I should have upgraded, really, shouldn't I?
That's all right.
All
That's
good.
all right.
We're here now.
I didn't realize that was a great session. I didn't realize how many people were going to be on. Just before I introduce you, I'm just going to say to people that are watching, because we've got a few people watching, obviously, please do consider donating. The link is running across the screen. If it's too difficult to follow, there should be links in LinkedIn, but also just go to Just Giving. And if you type in my name or EventWell, all in one word, or my name with a gap in between, Dan Assor, you should be able to get there. So please do consider donating. My voice is going already, which is not good. Possibly because I've been up since about, I don't know, 6 this morning. So I'm going to stop whittling on. And Peter and Lindsay.
Yes.
You're from Unwrapit. And you're in Canada. Whereabouts are you in Canada?
We are both in Toronto.
You're both in Toronto. So I'm going to let you crack on. I'm going to let you do what you got to do, and I'll sort of be in the background, and we'll just see how it goes.
That's great. And we were going to say, like, feel free to jump in at any point. You have a lot of experience in this industry.
Sure.
And, I'm sure you've got your stories to share. So if anything piques your interest or reminds you of something that happened either on the giving side or receiving side of an event, just join the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to pop off for a couple of minutes, but I will be back.
Okay. Understandably, you got a long day ahead of you.
There he goes. All right. Looks
All
like
right.
looks like the link is running. Everything's there. We're all good. Okay.
Yep. All right, let's jump in. So I have the great privilege of introducing my co-founder, Lindsay Moran. Actually, is that even how you say your last name?
Yeah, isn't that funny? We don't use last names very often. It's so hilarious.
Moran?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard that's a story for another day about my poor children already coming home from school and getting called names, as you can imagine. I
certainly can. So tonight, or I guess this morning, UK time, we're talking about event gifting nightmares and swag bloopers. Pretty much anything and everything that might go awry when trying to coordinate gifts at events, big and small. This is a topic near and dear to Lindsay and my hearts, as we've been hyper-focused on building out solutions to make it easier in the future. That said, in hindsight, those challenges around gifting can actually be quite humorous and when we're looking back. So hopefully we'll keep it light and fun. And we thought we'd just start with some introductions. So I'm Peter, co-founder of Unwrapit. We have a third co-founder, Talon, who might be tuned in. He's on the technology side. A lot of folks who we talk to think that, of course, Unwrapit started during the pandemic because it's all about virtual, in this case, virtual gifting. Truth is, I've been focused on this journey for closing in on 4 years. trying to shift the world of giving in its many forms to the virtual realm, recognizing that virtual gifts are great gifts and often the coveted gifts and the cool gifts, and yet there's a whole tradition around giving gifts that come in boxes and might, as a result, end up in landfill. Unwrapit kind of pivoted towards, I know that's a taboo word in events these days.
That word is a little overused, but okay, we'll go with it.
Before the pandemic, we pivoted when it was okay to use that word to the events industry, thanks to actually a UK-based customer, Franklin Covey UK, who called me up one day and said, "Hey, can you help give a playlist as a gift to my team here in the UK?" And so I realized fairly quick that it's much easier to innovate around gifting in events than to compete with the Christmas tree, which was what I had been trying to do. And ever since, we've been building out a solution for this industry and enjoying every step of the way. And in October, Lindsay, Taylor, and I formalized our founding team. And with that, I'd love, Lindsay, for you to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I come from the events industry kind of early days. It's funny, I was listening to the last session there and could relate to one of the speakers talking about, organizing prom and selling cookies in high school and all that kind of stuff. And I thought nodding along. Yep. Did that. So definitely was always involved in those types of things through school and obviously into university. And I don't know at what point I realized that could actually be a career, but anyway, I did at some point. I moved to the UK after I went to university and worked in the events industry in the UK. And I had a really amazing experience working for a technical company that did lighting and sound solutions for, we worked in some of the palaces and museums. We were one of the suppliers for those special venues in London, and it was amazing. And I just kind of had a great starting up in that industry for sure. Came back to Canada and I went and worked in the nonprofit sector. I had unfortunately lost a young friend to breast cancer at that time. And so I really felt like I wanted to do something that would marry my event experience with my interest in obviously doing something in her sort of honor and in her legacy. So I joined a small breast cancer charity at that time, which eventually became a bigger part of the Canadian Cancer Society. But all that to say that I come from the events background. I've done the live crazy events, the super corporate crazy events, and then in the British Museum going in and having 27 minutes to set up a massive event for hundreds of people coming in and having to have it look perfect, right through to small, really intimate donor events for charities. Done gala events. I ran a really cool event as part of that breast cancer charity when I was back in Canada that featured female chefs. So 60 female chefs that did, that had a really fun evening with all kinds of sort of food stations, etc. So kind of anything and everything from galas to outdoor, sort of athletic type events. So yeah, I guess I came to Unwrapit with this sort of event mindset, I suppose. And Peter and I talked a lot about that at the beginning. And I've also kind of been in that world of trying to figure out how to provide sponsors value, right? So be able to provide sponsorship value within an event. And frankly, that was tough to do even in person, to be able to provide tangible ROI for sponsors is not always easy. And so when Peter and I started talking about all of this, we sort of saw this opportunity to solve a problem, so many problems, and obviously the pandemic was a huge sort of grounding part of it all, I suppose. But yeah, all that to say, I'm coming from that event space, from that sponsorship procurement space, and really excited to be offering a different solution for gifting and promotional pieces, etc., in the industry.
Great. Great overview and introduction. We thought we'd round out our introductions by also reflecting on our own swag experiences. Dan, feel free to jump in here.
Yeah, I'm back in the room.
So the question for all three of us and to anyone who's tuned in through the chat or listening on Facebook or YouTube or wants to comment via Twitter is what is the one piece of swag or gift you received at an event that you've held on to? after all these years. And what is the strangest gift you've ever received at an event? So I'm going to start with my held on to, all by way of introduction, then we'll jump into our main topic. I've actually been carrying on my shoulder a satchel I received at an event, Social Capital Markets 2008, the inaugural event of that conference, and it is 2021. So that is one well-used piece of swag. It was, I believe, called the Revolution bag, and I use it every day and have since 2008, so 13 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, in terms of the strangest piece of swag I've received, nothing too outlandish, but I do remember 3 years ago receiving a flashlight pen. It's kind of the quintessential throwaway swag, but it was just technologically substantial enough that I felt terrible throwing it directly away. So I held it with me, and eventually, recently, my 2-year-old son discovered it, said, "What is this?" And I said, "It's a flashlight and a pen." And he used both for about a day, and then both broke, and then we threw it away. So maybe the saddest, but not the strangest piece of swag, as it's fairly common.
Fair.
You want to go, Lindsay?
Sure. I think the most useful, the one that I got a Swell water bottle. I was participated in a academic program of some sort, and they gave us swag at the end of it, and I got a Swell water bottle, and it's actually, it's not on my desk today, but it's often on my desk. So that's usable, right? It's a stainless steel water bottle. I use it all the time. So I feel like that is, a good example of something that I do use. Strangest, I don't know if there's anything that I've received myself. I've seen some really, really interesting things, and I've seen some pretty flimsy things over the years. I can't think of anything great and specific for strangest, but that's my take. What about you, Dan?
Just to do unmute.
Yeah, there you go.
So I think I mentioned this one to you, Pete, when we spoke originally. So I went to. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I went to AWS conference in Las Vegas last year. I call it a conference. It's more like a party. And they were giving out loads and loads and loads of stuff, depending on what level of ticket you had. And even though my ticket, I think, was $1,500, I had the lowest. But still managed to get about 15 pairs of socks. Which was amazing. So that was just from Amazon, who had their own shop there, their own swag shop.
Right.
They were giving away hoodies and t-shirts and caps. And I think it's certain
cats. Caps. Cats would be strange. Yeah,
and then obviously on the show,
you're Canadian is showing, Peter.
Yeah. On the show floor itself, it seemed to be that socks last year were definitely definitely the way forward for some reason. Okay. But I did keep them, so they were very useful actually. In terms of I don't know, the worst or things, it's hard to know. I mean, I think you see all sorts of stuff, don't you? Water bottles and glow sticks and
pens. A lot of pens.
A lot of pens actually. So, but I think what you're doing is great because obviously, it's very disruptive. We live in a virtual world. Lots of people still won't be able to travel to events from abroad. So it's great for organizers to have a different option, and potentially a more cost-effective one, right?
Certainly cost effective if you factor in shipping to home addresses across the world.
Yeah, and I think I would just add in to say that, at the end of all, ultimately part of this conversation tonight, we're celebrating the fact that, there's sentiment behind all of this. We're kind of making jokes about the pens and the flashlight pens and all that sort of thing, but there's always great intention, right? There's always sort of an intention behind it that, people mean well. The event organizer, the sponsorship, whoever the sponsor is, they're looking to create meaningful connections between the attendees themselves and perhaps the actual event or the cause or the sponsors. So there's certainly a lot of positivity around that, and we're just looking at a different way to do it. It's just a different option, and I think that's something we want to keep in mind as we chat about this.
Yeah,
for sure.
And certainly we're not on Team Grinch over at Unwrapit. We're on Team Gift. So let's just do it in a way that's perhaps better for all stakeholders.
Guys, I'm going to bring I'm going to add Victoria to the stream.
Sure.
Okay, great. Hello, Victoria Noble.
Hello.
Victoria
Hi.
is helping out. I've got a bunch of students from an event management course in London.
Fantastic.
On their final year, they were helping me do some posting during the show, etc. And I don't know, Victoria, to put you on the spot, you might have any way. I mean, any event, whether it's, I don't know, music festival, anything you've been given that you've quite liked, that's been handed out free, or anything you thought was ridiculous.
No, I've been given a few things in the past, but I don't think they're out of the ordinary. I've worked in hospitality in the past and received some gifts, but it's nothing weird.
Nothing ridiculous.
No.
So I think also we'll do a quick donation update, because I think we had another thing coming.
So we just got a donation through, and we're currently up to £2,425,
which is
amazing.
48%. Yeah, so halfway there, nearly. Yeah.
Which is probably about $3,500. I don't know what the Canadian exchange rate is.
It's like 6,000 or 8,000.
Yeah,
we could do the whole fundraiser in Canadian. We will have hit the goal already.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with a high number. Thank you so much. Thank you, Victoria.
You're very welcome.
It'd be nice. I thought it was nice to bring him in, right? So just
for sure.
Yeah, throughout. Keep the many voices is great.
We've got a hello here from New Jersey.
Hello, Kate. From New Jersey. Welcome.
Came in a few minutes ago, so that's good. So I'll let you crack on.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're just a quick overview of what we want to cover. So the majority of today's hour is about, the challenges, logistical primarily around gifting, some systems level view of the problem as Lindsay and I see it. And then, we did put out a call to event profs everywhere for stories, and publicly there was not too much disclosure, but privately we did round up some stories of event gifting gone awry. So we'll share that with those listening. And then we want to talk a small bit about the solution as we see it, that we're working on, but that I'm sure other companies are thinking about and working on. We want to take a small mental health break to talk about how Lindsay and I look after our own mental health and have in the past as entrepreneurs and event profs. Of course, we want to encourage people to donate to this important fundraiser. And then we'll round things out with a look at what's ahead. So what are the trends impacting event gifting? How is the pandemic and the post-pandemic world going to impact those who need to arrange gifts at events? And then we'll call it a night over here. Of course, you'll keep going.
Just getting you going. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And you might hear some background noise. I apologize for that. It's a busy household, including a 1-year-old cockapoo who doesn't know we're podcasting at the moment.
Oh, Stu.
He might make a guest appearance.
Yeah, bring him on.
I might just have to. It's his witching hour.
Hi, Rachel.
Rachel's put "We love Unwrapit," so there you
Yay.
go.
All right, thank you, Rachel. That's fantastic.
Victoria has a cockapoo too. Look at that.
Oh,
there you go.
amazing.
I actually heard her dog, and I thought, oh, she has a dog. There you go. Same breed. Amazing.
Yeah, Victoria, is your dog yapping away?
Yeah, she can hear me. So she's 10 months old.
Okay.
So
about the same age as Stu. Peter's, I think, bringing Stu in now. He's quite the character.
I'm throwing him out. He's out the door.
Yeah, she'll be running around.
All right, let's carry on here.
We got a holla from Carlos. So I'm
holla.
Maybe Mexico.
Where is that? I'm missing
It's coming up on the screen.
Hola. Yeah, so, feel free to say hello through the chat. Feel free to
Matthew
say
from Australia.
Wow,
Hello, Matthew.
global attendance. This is great. So the two introductory questions were: what is the best swag you've ever received, and what's the strangest swag or promotional gift at an event you've ever received?
Ours will be yes tomorrow. Nice.
That's on the cockapoo front.
Kids and dogs, you can't control them. Two things you cannot control. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to now be the interviewer of Lindsay. Lindsay's the event professional. I feel like a interloper, but as my EventProfs Without Borders group told me, I'm now in it. I'm firmly in the events industry, whether I feel that way or not. Nevertheless, I'm going to interview Lindsay, and we're going to start with the question of, can you remind everyone why this part of the events world is so challenging? So why is gifting and swag like a challenge from a few different angles?
Yeah, I mean, I think I sort of alluded to it a few moments ago, and I think the bottom line, as I said, is that the intention is there, right? The sentiment and the intention is there, and for every event that an event professional is planning, there generally is some sort of gifting or giveaway or swag or promo material in some capacity. And that's because it's nice. That's just hospitality. It's nice to give people things. I think as humans, we like to give, we like to receive as well, but we like to give. And so there's certainly that element of it. But, I think most of us that are on the call probably are on the Vodcast tonight will probably nod along to this and say, we've all been that person. And I would say sort of 9 times out of 10, I've been that person, who was sent something, potentially by a really well-meaning sponsor. I have that conversation with the sponsor in advance, and I say, here's some suggestions. Here are some things that would tie in well to the event and that would, really resonate and help create that meaningful connection with our attendees. And they say, yeah, that's great. And then, the swag shows up the day or two before, and I'm, 9 times out of 10, a little disappointed about what it is, because it reflects on the event. It also reflects on the sponsor and their brand, of course. And I would say that, so much of it, frankly, is a bit throwaway. And I'm a bit loath to say that, but that's just kind of the reality. And, it's soul destroying to be, a part of a team and everyone gets together to either stuff the swag bags or put the pieces out onto the tables, at a gala event or a dinner of some sort, and you're putting out, the piece of whatever it is at every single place setting. And then, 4 hours later, you go around at the end of the night and, 50% of them are still sitting on the tables, and you're going around and picking them back up again. And it's just, it's soul destroying, from an effort perspective, but also my whole thing always just is, where is this going? Right. You offer it to the venue staff if it's something that potentially might be usable, and they point it towards the garbage pile, and they just say, it's okay, just gather it all up over there, or our team will gather it up. Just leave it, Lindsay, don't worry, our team will gather it and they'll deal with it. The cleaning staff will deal with it. And it's just like, oh gosh, so it's all going to the garbage. And that's just so soul destroying, because if you think about that, someone on their end has had to procure it, they've had to choose it, they've had to buy it, they've had to organize for shipping. It gets to us, we have to put it out. Most of it gets left behind, and then it ends up in the garbage. Just not great. So that, I think, is kind of in a bit of a specific example, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it's just that sort of the bottom line of it, right?
Yeah. And writ large, year after year, it just adds up, and the one question would be, is it helping the sponsors achieve their objectives?
Well, right. Exactly. And my whole thing is just, I would sit back and think about that and think, we're one of, as you just said, how many events are happening in this exact space, ballroom, exhibition hall, you name it. Could be anything, right? Oh, Rachel's got an example here. Vintage bottle of Kentucky bourbon. Yeah, that's a great gift. Also like the ones that support charities. Agreed. And we'll chat about that in a few minutes too, for sure. It's just, as you just said, it's just sort of multiply it by that same venue times multiple venues across North America, around the world. And all of a sudden you can see that it's a very big problem.
And can you talk a bit about the toll it takes on event professionals? You were in that role. You've held that role. So
Yeah.
are there specific examples of when you found yourself pulling your hair out over the gifts you were trying to arrange? Never mind the environmental impact of those gifts.
Yeah.
Just from a mental, like a kind of logistics or any perspective of it in addition to the environmental.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like the best laid plans, right? You can plan and plan and plan for an event and, you know, cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and things, inevitably, there'll always be a few things that go a little sideways. And you know, for me, I've had that example, and, you know, it's happened to me with that swag promo material piece, you know, and as much as you coordinate and you ask for things to be delivered, I've had a situation in the past, you know, for a 1,500 person event where, you know, the sponsor was provided everything in advance, and, you know, they really wanted to do it themselves and they wanted to third party ship it and procure it. And okay, fine, here's all the information and I need it to the venue and this is the information and, you know, attention of, and this loading dock. And I even built in a buffer of time. And of course, event professionals will be laughing because, you know, if you're sending it to specific venues, they're very specific. Like you cannot send it any more than sort of 48 hours in front of the event, because guess what? They have the shipping dock is filled with all of the other event things that are coming in. So you have a very narrow window. Anyway, you can see where the story is going, because of course it didn't arrive in time, right? And so, you know, it's the 11th hour, and we're, you know, we've got 8 million other things going on, and all of a sudden, you know, over the radio, okay, the boxes just arrived. They're on loading dock B. You know, rally the troops. 10 of us go running down to the loading dock. I'm in heels. We're all running. We're hand bombing boxes. We're finding dollies to move these things and get them out onto, you know, into swag bags or onto tables. And it's so stressful. And like you know, it really is. Like, let's talk big picture here. Obviously, in the grand scheme of the world and what's happening day to day, not that big of a deal considering, but in that moment, it's very important, and it's very important to the sponsors. It's very important to their brand. And yeah, I mean, that is just like, it actually makes my blood pressure rise right now, just talking about that. Sorry, because I vividly remember it, you know, running to the bowels of a convention center to the loading dock to rescue swag.
Yep.
Not great.
Yep. And then we've already talked about where much of it is headed afterwards.
Right.
So we're going to turn to the stories we've been told. So Lindsay and I have been conducting demos of Unwrapit for the last 4 months. We've heard lots of stories. When we put the call out to the world, we didn't get too many folks saying exactly how, you know, event gifting has been a challenge for them, and not too many public disclosures. But privately, we've heard the stories, and we want to highlight a few of them that we've heard, of course, anonymously, and that were submitted to us by email. And maybe I'll start with, you know, because Rachel mentioned the Kentucky bourbon. She must have had what do you call it when you check your bag? You check your bags. It's been so long. We're in the pandemic.
We've all forgotten how to travel.
I forgot.
Can you imagine when we all go through security again? It's going to be such a cluster because nobody's going to know what they're doing.
So you have checked bags and stored. She must have had stored bags, because a bottle of Kentucky bourbon cannot be brought on the plane. So this woman we were speaking with a few months back was relaying that, you know, she thought she found the perfect gift for all of her attendees who had flown in from all across Canada, I believe, for an event in British Columbia. Of course, she was going to send them home with some local British Columbia wine. Got 1 or 2 bottles per person. Lots of people said thank you, and then she started to notice none of the bottles were headed home, and that's because most people came with 1 carry-on bag. And so there was no way to get that bottle of wine home. Just one of these tragic stories. All those bottles of wine, nowhere to go.
Oh, they shipped them back for you.
That was a high-end event. That was a great event.
Yeah.
You're a fortunate attendee. This organizer either didn't have the budget or didn't have the foresight. Another case just from the Unwrapit journey to date is a law firm that realized it was sending gifts to clients. So this is not an event-specific example, but sending gifts to clients, often consumable chocolates, sweets, and realized later that, you know, those gifts weren't reaching the decision makers or the people for whom they were trying to build those relationships. Those gifts were often consumed by whoever happened to be closest to the kitchen on that day. And so
I'm laughing because I can completely relate to that. Working in an office and a gift basket comes in at holiday time, and it's just, a frenzy, but the person who it's meant for probably doesn't even know that it's there.
Doesn't even know. The same law firm decided, okay, instead we're going to send, subscribe people to, Toronto Life magazine. That way they'd get a constant reminder of our relationship. Problem was there was no attribution. So this magazine started arriving to the doorsteps of offices across Toronto, but no attribution. So again, the same law firm was intentionally doing the right thing, but not getting their intention across to their client.
Right. Not getting the kudos for it that they really deserved.
Yeah. I'll highlight one other challenge that can come up with gifting, and this would apply to virtual gifts as well, but denominations around gift cards can also be a problem. So we've recently uncovered that, for example, the Airbnb gift card, which sounds like a great gift, especially if we're looking to start doing virtual gifting, it would be perfect, right? Because everyone uses Airbnb, or a lot of people use Airbnb. It's a global platform. Turns out their gift option is only in USD. Fine, anyone can check out in USD, one would think. But it turns out to use an Airbnb gift card, you actually have to be a US resident. And the system's smart enough to know, where you live. So if you're in the Netherlands or Canada or UK,
or Australia,
we have someone in from Australia. No luck there. So lots can go wrong when trying to arrange these gifts, whether they're physical or virtual. And that's where it's sort of some advanced planning, obviously, it's very helpful. Lindsay, you collected some examples as well. Do you want to walk us through some of them?
Yeah. I reached out to a few former colleagues and friends, and I got some fun ones. I got one that said, the year we decided that the gift bags would look better with tissue paper, 2,500 bags later, we regretted that. This made me literally laugh out loud. But that's just it, right? Like even that in and of itself, it's like you're trying to create that. We named the company Unwrapit for a reason, right? Like we want to create that unwrapping experience, that, nice feeling that you get. And so they were trying to do that by putting some tissue paper in the bags. And I laughed and thought that's really funny. Like that's a lot of tissue paper, and that's a lot. Can you imagine all the paper cuts from that too? And so the other one that was funny was a last minute addition to the program where I'm assuming they maybe was the sponsor, wanted everyone to write a note on a clothing item. I won't name the clothing item because it might give it away, to be donated, of course, to local shelters after the event, which is, again, lovely and super idea. And so they ended up, last minute, of course, as these things happen, ended up sending members of their team, literally, running around the city and going around the city in taxis, trying to buy up 750 of those clothing items at the very last minute to have them ready to go. So really, again, cool idea, cool concept, but probably not great on execution, and maybe could have had some other thinking ahead of it. So that was kind of a funny one. And then the other one, which is kind of along the lines of your Airbnb example, was ordering Google Homes for attendees, which sounds lovely, right? They ordered them in Canada, but their event was in Australia. And when they were going to pack them and ship them ready to send, of course, realized at the last minute that they wouldn't work in Australia because the plugs are different.
Yep.
So, just all of these things that are so challenging. And then obviously all these examples are pre-COVID. We spoke to someone, Peter, you and I were on a call not that long ago, and this woman, she was so lovely, and she had hand stuffed basically hundreds. I can't remember how many she did, but it was a lot of these beautiful boxes, curated boxes for all of the attendees. But I could tell by her in a retelling the story, I think it nearly did her in. And then that didn't even, then she talked about the actual logistics of having to ship it and figure out addresses. And oh my gosh, like just the palaver of that definitely would be a challenge. So we're hoping to solve for a lot of that and solve for all of those challenges and all of those headaches and nightmares that so many of us have experienced.
Yeah, who was it? We were speaking with someone who had literally a closet full of the gifts they've received at events.
Yeah.
And they were scared to open the closet door for fear that something might fall on their head.
Well, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, and again, I shouldn't say this because maybe someone I'm formerly watching or work with is watching, but like we had a room, like a storage room, and it basically is where all the leftover event swag went to die. Like it just all, because of course you feel so guilty, like you can't throw it out, right? So you think, oh, we'll just hang on to it and maybe we'll be able to reuse it, but you can't reuse it because it's logoed or it's dated or it's not the right sentiment or thing for the next year. Like it just inevitably, it's just not right. And it's not personalized enough and yet too personal, if that makes sense. So I can picture the shelves of boxes, of just cardboard boxes full of swag.
Swag everywhere. So we want to spend a few minutes on what we think the solution could be. Obviously, we're trying to solve for the environmental impact of gifting at events, but this event you and I are participating in right now, Lindsay, is a fundraiser for event professionals, specifically their mental health. So we wanted to focus on our solution to the problem from the perspective of event professionals and how the right technology or the right systems can actually relieve some of that strain and stress around at least this one aspect of an event. There's no question organizing events will always be stressful, always be draining, but from an Unwrapit perspective, if we can help simplify this one part, then we're doing something for the cause. So let's dive into that. How do we solve for the complex logistics around event gifting?
Yeah, I mean, it's that whole thing of, I've said this a few times over the last little while, like start a business to solve a problem, right? So the logistics, as we've alluded to a number of times over the last 35 minutes, the logistics is such a challenge. And, again, just to say, this isn't to say that there's no room for physical gifts. Of course there is, and that won't change. But, if you think through some of the events that you're planning and you think about some of the things that you've ordered and given out or shipped or done over the last year, but even prior to that, it's possible to think about replacing some of that, right? And to think about how we can alleviate some of those logistics. The reality is that, we're talking a lot, I'm sure this will be the topic of conversation for the next 22 hours, I guess. Much of what we're doing is virtual in the events world right now. Peter and I were part of a really great event this past week, Evolve, and there was a lot of conversation around moving to hybrid and how we'll probably be in that hybrid model for quite a period of time as we gradually hopefully start to shift back to in-person. And so the reality is that virtual piece is just really tough. I mean, how do you get everyone's home addresses? There's privacy concerns, the actual logistics of that. People might give their office address, but they're not working at their office. So that's sort of the first thing, is the logistics element of it. We're solving for all of that because everything that we are offering on the Unwrapit platform is virtual. It's delivered virtually. There's no need for a shipping address. There's no need for the cost of shipping, as we talked about earlier. And then the second thing, I think, is that, sort of creating surprise and delight. We talked about the hilarious tissue paper example, but, it's sort of separating the effort. Peter, you said this, and it resonated with me, separating the effort from the sentiment, right? So just because something, it doesn't have to have blood, sweat, and tears, literally, to be important and to actually be meaningful and to create that meaningful connection to someone. You can create that by offering something to somebody that is personalized, that kind of has that cool factor. I think more and more people are expecting more. They're expecting to go to events. They're expecting it to be personalized. They're expecting things to speak to them. And so we can do that with the platform. And I think that's a really cool problem solving, really cool solve that we have as well. So it's the logistics piece, it's the personalization piece, it's the cool factor piece, sort of all wrapped into one solution.
Into one. And if hybrid is the new norm, virtual gifting can be the level playing field that treats the virtual attendee as an equal to the in-person attendee, because you're all the gifts are delivered in this digital form. either through your phone at the event or from your home computer or phone attending remotely. So obviously we didn't dive too much into details. This is not an infomercial by any means. This is a fundraiser for a very important cause. So we're actually going to shift gears.
On that note,
Peter,
can I just jump in?
Please.
So I'm just going to share my screen just so I can show people just a little bit about EventWell just for a minute, if that's okay.
Yeah, great.
Perfect. That would be great.
Okay. So hopefully everyone can see that. And basically EventWell are a charitable social enterprise dedicated to educating, campaigning and supporting better mental health and wellbeing in events. And they support and serve the event industry community. So, and it's not just exhibitions, it could be experiential marketing, creative comms, live and business events, exhibitions, travel and hospitality. And then they have a division called EventWell Pledge. And just briefly talk you through that. So, and obviously you can go to the eventwell.org website as well. If I can find the pledge section, it'd be fantastic. bear with. Alternatively, I can actually just read it out. So, bear with me 2 seconds.
I think it was,
just down
there.
on.
This is only hour 2, Dan. You got 22 more hours.
So, EventWell Pledge offers immediate financial support.
There it is.
Small relief grants to professionals working in events who are experiencing financial hardship due to the pandemic. And the support programs designed to help with the stresses and traumas that can cause mental health or poor mental health or mental health decline. And it also offers a bursary fund training event professionals in mental health, first aid and mental health awareness to support their mental health and well-being. And they give financial aid and help with grocery shops, small relief grants to cover mortgage, rent and utility payments and arrears, and also offer support to cover professional talking therapies, professional counselling and therapy. So it's a very worthwhile cause. Sorry, that's quite a mouthful, but they do a lot of great stuff. So I will hand back to you, Peter.
Can you actually say a word about the North American chapter that's opening?
Yeah, so they haven't got an exact date. It's going to be opening very soon, and I guess and also Canada as well. And the idea is to do what they do over here with everything I've just said, basically to support individuals with their mental health and well-being, and to offer financial support where required. So I know that Helen Moon, the chief exec, is in talks with people over in the States and Canada, and it's going to be very soon that that's going to be announced.
Do you know if there are any other examples of organizations that intend to elevate the mental health of an entire industry like this or entire professional class?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would assume there are. And, you know, I don't think we can have too many organizations that help individuals, whatever they do and wherever they are. I can't comment specifically on that, but I know EventWell's definitely been a trailblazer for the event industry. And specifically during the pandemic with the EventWell Pledge have obviously helped lots of people.
Yep. There's no question, and a lot of people are
affected by it.
By the pandemic in this industry. So I was thrilled to come across EventWell early in my foray in events. Just they're active on Twitter, and I liked and identified with the cause. So we actually on the Unwrapit site just submitted our contribution on behalf of Lindsay, Talon, and I just before getting.
Oh, that was you guys. Yeah, thank you.
That was us. So encourage. Well, I mean, I think our donation was one among hundreds flowing in at this time.
Thank you very much for that.
Those donations coming in all throughout today. So we actually wanted to talk a bit about our own mental health. You know, it's all fair and good to be talking about how gifting can be improved, the challenges, the bloopers, but you know, we're also humans. You know, all three of us here live, and those tuning in.
Which is why I'm eating.
Why? Please eat. You gotta eat. You gotta.
I liked your picture you shared, Dan, of your shelf from the grocery store. The Lucozade on the bottom was really.
I went shopping earlier, so I thought I'd share what I think I bought enough food for 3 weeks.
Like a lockdown within the lockdown.
Yeah.
What's going on here? There is an irony that you're subjecting yourself to this in the name of mental health.
Really.
We don't need to delve into that too much.
We all need martyrs.
Yeah. There you go. So a few things I've done, and then Lindsay will comment as well, as sort of like they're big picture things I've done to look after my mental health as an entrepreneur. I think second only to event professionals, entrepreneurs also, can suffer poor mental health just because of the job. You're welcome, Helen. And we're happy to support the cause and can't wait for the North American chapters to open of EventWell. So I realized a few things earlier this year, or rather, I guess last year, earlier in the pandemic. I realized that my mental health was suffering because I didn't have a team. I was trying to roll this big boulder up the hill, which was starting a company, and I was trying to do it alone, which I don't recommend anyone do. And so at the big picture level, I said, okay, something's got to change here. This is not working for the business, but it's also not working for me. So I set out to find a great founding team, and I found my way to Talon and Lindsay, and it's made an enormous difference just having a team to be part of. And of course, we're producing greater things than ever I could have on my own. The other big thing I've done, so teamwork is one. The other big one is deep work. So really, in my mid 30s, realizing my mental health was not in great form. I could be paying much more attention to it than I was. And so, I worked through my own professional therapy, meeting with a mental health professional weekly for 5 years straight. And it was a tremendous process of self discovery and improvement. And it's equipped me with a resiliency that I don't think I would have had otherwise. So for anyone I ever come across, I always encourage them to seek out that help. There's absolutely no shame or should be no stigma associated with getting professional therapy. And I'm certainly someone who's invested in that and seen the results. So those are like the big picture things I've done to improve my mental health. Always happy to talk about them with anyone interested. And then of course I have the little hacks. Often it's the little hacks that get us through our difficult days or help us reset. So for me, having 2 small kids at home and 3 small animals, I have to set firm boundaries around my workday. Today, 8 p.m. on a weeknight being an exception. Normally, I'm on my way to sleep at this point. Number 2 hack is if things aren't going well,
I'm on the way to sleep.
Yeah, you should be at 1 a.m. or now almost 2 a.m. Knowing when I need sleep, and I hope that doesn't rub it in for you, Dan, staying up all night tonight. But often if I feel myself spiraling or getting on an overwhelm, I just put myself to sleep like I do my kids, and it makes a huge difference. I eat well, I try to stay hydrated, and a little trick, is the mantras, just repeating myself a simple thing like I'm doing the best I can, or it is what it is, or these simple mantras can really be helpful in a difficult time, as well as going outside. So those are some of the things I do to look after my own mental health, which I wanted to share with the community, since that's the topic today.
Great. Good hacks, good ideas. I'll jump in and say, I have done the same. I think this year has been incredibly difficult for so many people. Oh, hello, Bob from North London.
North London? I'm in North London. What are you doing up there?
Hang on a minute. Hang on a second. Yeah, I think it's just, stating the obvious, it's been an incredibly difficult year for so many people. I think that, so many, I feel very fortunate that I've had my health and, all of these good things, but it has been a tough year. I also have sought out professional therapy as well for that reason. Also, I don't have the 3 small animals, Peter, but I have 2, small-ish children at home, and it's been interesting for sure. But relating it back to the events, I think, actually talking to my therapist a lot over the last year has made me think back to, you're talking about your 30s, and I can relate to that, 20s and 30s whenever I was in the events industry. And I joked earlier about feeling like I had heart palpitations just thinking about running down to that loading dock to get the boxes off the skid. But really, I did. In those moments, it was so stressful, so stressful. And I lived on that. I loved it. I loved that adrenaline rush. The days leading, we wouldn't do it if we didn't love it. The days leading up to the event are so fun, such a high, it's so great, but also incredibly stressful. And I think, hindsight's 2020, knowledge is power, all of those things, knowing what I know now as a more mature person, being a little bit more in tune with all of that, I wish that I had more knowledge and more support and more information at that point to recognize that, I think a lot of the times I just kind of chalked up to like, oh, it's just my job, I just got to do it, which was true, but I probably could have used some of the tools that I have now at that time, which is unfortunate that I didn't have it. But, it's not funny, but not funny that, event professional shows up often on some of the most stressful job lists, alongside some really noble professions, teachers and healthcare workers and all of that. But, event professionals, it is a stressful job. So I can relate to a lot of that and feeling that pressure.
I'm sure it's also one of those jobs that's thankless, like the event organizer doesn't hear a peep from anyone when everything is going well. The moment something goes badly, it's like, all on them. So I think it's fantastic that there's an organization dedicated just to this topic of promoting mental health, well-being, and helping event professionals overcome the financial hardship as well during this time. So again, we encourage anyone and everyone listening to contribute to the fundraiser in support of EventWell and the EventWell Pledge.
I should say as well, I'm going to share my screen again, Peter, that today it is, hopefully you can see that, Event Wellbeing Day. And the theme this year is Rising Strong. So hopefully people can see that on screen.
Yep.
And essentially, it's about the process of bouncing back as an individual or team. Obviously, it's been a turbulent 12 months for the industry. And there's so many ways to get involved. So they've got a wellbeing program. So if people go on to eventwell.org/eventwell21, they should be able to see. Maybe my kind associate, Victoria, can copy that link into the comments, and I'm just going to put that in the private chat for you, Victoria, just now. So just wanted to just mention that.
Fantastic.
Great, thank you for that. So we will close with returning to our topic of gifting and trends and what's coming up as we prepare for a post-pandemic world in which people need to meet and events need to happen. And so we wanted to just highlight some of those trends. Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, and I think one of the students maybe in the last session said, at the end of the day, people are we want to be together. So, we will come back together. It might take some time and there'll be a shift for sure gradually, but it will happen. But for us, the whole thing is that, and we mentioned this earlier, consumers, generally event attendees, anyone, everyone's just become more savvy. I think between what's happened over the last year, of course, with the pandemic, but we can't forget, prior to the pandemic, there was a whole awakening around the climate crisis and what was going on in the world, in our environment. And so I think more and more people are just more aware. They're more aware of their choices from a consumer's perspective. And so even when things come back online, from online to in person, I think expectations will be higher. And, we joked about some of those, boxes of swag, et cetera. But I just don't think that will stand. in the same way that it used to. I think that there will be an expectation that sort of thing just isn't great. We shouldn't be doing that sort of thing anymore. So I think that'll be a big part of it for sure.
Yeah, and I'm really curious how long hybrid will be with us, or whatever that format is called.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction is it's always going to be there. We've kind of discovered that there are ways to connect virtually, and in the spirit of inclusion, there are a lot of folks who can't attend events that still want to be there virtually, and so the industry's really turned its attention on how to meet those people remotely. And I think the best events will continue to do that post-event. I don't know, Dan, if you have a perspective or position on hybrid as a permanent fix.
Yeah, what a topic for 2 a.m. Thanks for that, Peter.
Oh, keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, it's interesting because virtual events have always existed, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just not not as up front and center as they are now. So from the people I talk to, virtual events and communication virtually with delegates and exhibitors will happen more in between the shows. So if you run an annual show, whereas before you might have said thanks, when you leave the show, see you next year. Actually, someone posted up on LinkedIn, is that still appropriate? Because it seems obvious now, but we need to be communicating with our customers. Right? Yeah. And virtual gives us the opportunity to do that, and also more so with international, as I mentioned before, because if you run a domestic show, or even if you run an international show, but you can't have travelers at the moment, virtual offers you that. So hopefully, I think organizers will continue to embrace it.
Yeah, and it seems like a no-brainer. I think there will be those fully off-grid, intimate gatherings, but that's not what we're talking about when we're talking about exhibitions or business meetings. And so from our perspective at Unwrapit, it's that the gifting element, whether it's gifts throughout the year, gifts before, during, after the event, if those are virtual, if those are experiential, digital, or charitable gifts, they can be immensely meaningful. They can reach all the recipients, whether they're in person or remote, whether they're domestic or international. And it can be really the glue that holds those communities together, those communities of belonging, which at the end of the day, all events are. In addition to connecting buyers and sellers and sponsors with potential customers, it's about forming community, and gifts and are a big part of that belonging can be.
Absolutely. So thank you. So have you wrapped up? Sorry, have you unwrapped?
We're almost wrapping up. It wasn't intended to be the last word. I think I might be getting a little sleepy, and I have to introduce everyone to the cockapoo. Yeah. Lindsay, what are your he came right over. He must have known. Because we get an update on can compare cockapoos. Oh, Victoria's on mute.
That's funny. Stu.
Bear with me, I'll go and get mine.
There's
Stu.
Here he is.
Making his global debut.
Global debut, exactly.
Oh,
he's got a matching collar to my headset. Oh my gosh, he just adjusted the standing desk on his own.
Oh boy, what a character. Oh, there we go.
Oh my goodness, so cute. Cockapoos unite.
Is this what you envisioned for this, Dan? At 2 in the morning?
Last year, I was running a massive event for a racial organizer.
Yeah. Oh my God. Victoria's cockapoo is quite large. How many kilos?
She's about 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah, she's quite big.
Stu's just 8.5, but he seems so small. Maybe because he's fully shorn at the moment.
Yeah, she needs a haircut.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to cut you short because I've got the next people waiting.
Got it. Okay.
I've got a Mexican DJ set, which so the day just gets weirder and weirder.
That's going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Dan.
Thank you, Peter, Lindsay. You've got a fantastic disruptive product.
Thank you.
It's one thing going into business to make money, but hopefully that's a byproduct, and that just comes with it, right? If you do it good. So we wish you the best of luck. Thank you for your donation. Thank you for your time. Good luck with the baby, Peter. I forgot.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Stay well.
I really enjoyed today.
Thanks,
Thank
all.
you.
Victoria,
Thank you,
thank you so
Victoria.
much for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you. It was a really good experience. It's really lovely hearing you both as well.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
All right. We'll see you on the
Okay.
other side. Don't forget to support the EventWell fundraiser and organization.
Yes, thank you. Take care.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Bye.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey there.
What's up?
So this is
How
a
are
good
you?
friend of mine.
Yeah.
Hello, Giovanni. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hello, Ale. Did I pronounce it
Yeah.
Ale? I thought Alexandra, but Ale, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's a short for Alejandra.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for joining. My brain is already slowing down.
How come you're just started?
No, I haven't. Well, I've been up since 6 this morning, like the previous day. So,
Wow.
I've been up from the day before. So, what we're going to do you want to introduce? Obviously, I'll share the screen when you're ready. I've got a student, Tyler, who I'm not going to put on screen, but she's in the background helping me for the next couple of hours doing social media posts, and anyone that comments on LinkedIn, I'll also try and put up as well and give donation updates. Ben is a very good friend of mine who's in the UK who has agreed to stay up.
Yeah, just thought I'd come and say hello for a bit of moral support and listen to some great music.
We love it.
Hopefully you won't get kicked off for any copyright infringement, because I tried to load it to YouTube earlier and it was a bit interesting.
I'm going to try and put my little disco light on in a minute as well. To try
and I've got my good friend Paul Centemore.
Hello, Paul.
You know Paul, who is VP of Tarsus over in South America. So nice of Paul to join. I interviewed Paul a couple of weeks ago. We had some good fun. So hello, Paul. Thank you for joining. Okay, so the best way of doing this is, let's work this out. Right. Do you want to give this some context, Giovanni? Just like, I don't know, describe how this came about, who the person is we're going to see, and I know your role in it.
Yeah. The DJ is a friend of mine, which I know from we were a child. And I also have help from a friend of mine whose name is Mario. We took some shots. I think that really good shots with the drone you are just about to see.
Yeah.
So we prepared this for you. So I really hope you to relax and have some really good time to listen to good music.
Let's do it. I'm going to wake my whole house up.
Nice.
Perfect.
So I'm going to share the screen and hopefully this works.
It would.
So
I'm just going to share it. I'm just going to go to my YouTube because I've loaded it on there.
Okay.
So can you see this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome everybody to the EventWell Electro Music Party. It's time to have some fun. Thank you for joining.
How's the sound?
Please don't forget to donate and support our events.
I don't think it's like real good.
It's not the best.
No, it's not the best.
One day, this nation will rise up, live out
Is that okay?
the true meaning of its creed.
Yeah.
I can try. Let's just try something else. We're going to try something else, guys.
Okay.
Just bear with me.
Ben, I wish I had your lights.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, just a little bit of atmosphere. That's about all the value that I can add today, I'm afraid.
That's great. Really appreciate it.
Okay. I can try and get the actual file, so just bear with me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Welcome everybody to the EventWell Electro Music Party. It's time to have some fun.
Yeah, I mean that's the sound that I've got. So
Please don't forget to donate and support our events industry community. So now, are you ready to dance?
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I never meant to cause you any sorrow. All good, guys? I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted one time to see you laughing. Can you see that okay or not?
Yeah.
We can now see you typing, Dan. Just so you know.
Yep.
Can you see the video or can you see everything? I can't. I don't know.
I can see every. I can see. We can see everything.
Okay, I'll go back to.
Maybe we can have it full screen. Perfect.
Much better.
I could never steal you from another. Such a shame our friendship had to end. I know the times are changing. And it's time we all reach out for something new. You can't seem to make up your own mind. I think you better close it. Let me guide you through the purple rain, 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 purple rain, 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 purple. I only wanna see you laughing in the purple rain, purple rain.
If it's true, please tell me now. Do you plan to let me go for the other guy you love? Or don't you know I heard it through the grapevine, 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 through the grapevine.
Here's
Does anyone know where this was filmed?
Hello?
Yeah, this is here in Mexico.
And it makes me so depressed to see the blue. Somebody help me chase the shadows away.
Dan, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh, no, I just wasn't sure. It's a bit late in the day for me, I have to say. I've got a massive echo. I'm getting like an echo 20 seconds after I speak. Interesting. Yeah, it's a beautiful view, isn't it?
You ready? You ready?
Hope everyone's enjoying this, guys.
Disco Inferno, take one.
A second. Tune.
Don't chase around this week and let the beat control your body. And let the beat control your body. Uncontrollable, inconsolable, electric, primitive. Uninvited, so excited, savage, prerogative. Ferocious, precocious, raw power, ecstasy. Liberate, don't hesitate, and let the beat control your body. 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 And let the beat control your body.
I'm going to talk to you about some things that I've learned in my journey. Most from experience, some of them I heard in passing. Many of them I'm still practicing, but all of them I do believe are true. Life is not easy. It is not. Don't try to make it that way. Life's not fair. It never was. It isn't now. And it won't ever be. Do not fall into the trap, the entitlement trap, of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Get over it. Get on it. And yes, most things are more rewarding when you break a sweat to get them. Let's create more outcomes that pay us back, fill us up, keep your fire lit, turn you on for the most amount of time in your future. Since we are the architect of our own lives, let's study the habits, the practices, the routines that we have that lead to and feed our success, our joy, our honest pain, our laughter, our earned tears. Let's dissect that and give thanks for those things. And when we do that, guess what happens? We get better at them. And we have more to dissect. Be discerning. Choose it because you want it. Do it because you want to. You're going to make mistakes. You got to own them. And you got to make amends. And you got to move on. Guilt and regret kills many a man before their time. Turn the page. Get off the ride. You are the author of the book of your life.
And I ain't gonna take any more. Believe me, the sight in your eyes, the time of the lights would believe me. I am the eye in the sky, looking at you. I can read your mind. I am the breaker of rules, dealing with rules that can change your life. And I don't need to see anymore to know that I can read your mind. 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 I'm ready to stay. I'm hanging on the edge of your seat. I'll let the way the bullets rip inside of the beat, yeah. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one's gone, and another one's gone. Another one bites the dust, hey. Hey, another get too deep. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust, 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 dust. Another one bites the dust, 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 dust. I ain't gonna get along without you when you're gone. You took me for everything that I had and keep me around. I'm satisfied, all I can is standing here. And it's all I had to believe rhythm to the sound of the beat. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. Another one's gone, another one's gone, another one bites the dust. Hey, I got to do. Another one bites the dust. Gotta leave that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Groove, let the medicine, the music get to you. Life ain't so bad at all. Tonight, gotta leave that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Groove, let the medicine, the music get to you. Life ain't so bad at all. Gotta leave that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Come on and groove, yeah. Let the medicine, the music get to you. Life ain't so bad at all. Tonight, gotta leave that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself. Come on and groove, yeah. Let the medicine, the music get to you. Life ain't so bad at all. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. A full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too hard to see. Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
Just holding my pillow tight. You came into my lonely days with a tender loving, sweet ways. Now I don't know where you come from, baby. Don't know where you've been now, baby. Heaven
Right.
into my arms. Down in the morning when I awake, there's a smile upon your face. You touch my heart, and this wiped away all my sadness. For so long I needed love that near me. The soft voice that you hear me. Heaven must have sent you, baby, into my life. Last night I had a dream about you. In this dream, I'm dancing beside you. And it looked like everyone was having fun. The kind of feeling I waited so long. Don't stop, come a little closer as we jam the rhythm
get stronger. There's nothing wrong, just a little fun. We were dancing all night long. The time is right, put my arms around you. You're feeling right, you wrap your arms around you. But suddenly, I feel the shining sun. Before I know
I'll turn it off. I'll turn it off. Hold on, guys. I'm just trying to work out what I'm doing.
Leave it on. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay, got to cut it. Amazing. Oh.
Yay.
Craziness. That was amazing, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having us here. Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was sitting on my bed with my mobile doing some socials. So, listen, thank you so much, my friends from Tarsus, Mexico, and to your DJ. What was his name again?
Fabs. DJ Fabs.
DJ Fabs. DJ Fabs. We got 67 comments, so that was amazing. I think you saw quite a lot of them on screen.
Yeah, I saw them.
They were covering my head and my disco light. I mean,
Yeah.
But Paul sent them all. So thank you so much, and also to my friends Ben and Chris. Chris, thanks for telling us about your broadband issues. I appreciate that.
It's always a pleasure, Dan. Always a pleasure.
I'll see you back. Tune in again another time.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys, and yeah.
You too. Thank you very much, Dan, and don't forget to donate.
Yeah, that's
will
a very
do.
good point.
Come on, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring another guest in. Thank you.
Good luck, Dan.
Bye,
Cheers.
everyone. Good luck, Dan.
Bye, Ben.
Cheers. Okay. Here we go.
Hi, everybody.
Here we go. Here we go. Excuse me.
Yeah.
1 second.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So we've had a good evening so far. Excuse me if I'm sort of stumbling, but I've been up since 6 o'clock yesterday morning, so I don't know.
I know. Dan, this is Dana
Come
and
on.
Diane.
Yeah.
We may have Erica's going to jump in at some point before her session, and
Sure.
then Lori Jenks was getting her shot, and she may be joining us. It just depended
Cool.
how long it took.
That's okay. So I'm going to do a quick intro, then I'm going to leave you for a bit.
All right.
Just have a break, but I'll be back. I won't leave you to the end. Don't worry. So, Steph, do you want to introduce everybody?
Sure.
And just tell us what the hour's going to be about, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Stephanie Selesnick, and I'm here with my friends Diane Bjorkland and Dana Lupton. We're representing 3 different time zones from the United States. I'm in Las Vegas. Diane is outside Chicago, and Dana is upstate Connecticut. You're in Connecticut, near upstate New York. There's like a whole tri-state thing where many trade show folks live. Those that haven't departed for Florida and warmer climes. So with that, we're going to just be talking about Las Vegas, where I live.
Fantastic.
Things are starting to open slowly but surely. We're very excited, and everybody has Vegas memories. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit, give some hints, some tips, and then we're going to get into a little trivia.
Cool. That's fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us all the way. Well, I say all the way. I'm all the way to you, right? So it depends which way you look at it. So just to remind everybody what we're doing here, just briefly, if that's okay, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
So obviously we're here to raise some money for EventWell. And for those that aren't aware, they're the event industry's trailblazing charitable social enterprise dedicated to educating, campaigning and supporting better mental health and wellbeing in events. And they have something called the EventWell Pledge, which is there to offer vital and immediate support to any event professional experiencing personal and financial hardship. And it's open to anyone working in various parts of the events industry. So experiential marketing, live business events, exhibition, hospitality, and so on. So, and if anyone is in need of support, just contact EventWell and they will speak to you about it in confidence. And today is also International Event Wellbeing Day, March the 3rd. So there's a series of events going on. So if you go to eventwell.org/eventwell21, this year's Event Wellbeing Day, the theme is Rising Strong. So please do donate, guys. I will put the link up again in the comments. You can only see that link if you're on Facebook or YouTube, but I'll put it directly into the LinkedIn page as well. We've got a great cause. Let me just tell you exactly how much we're up to at the moment. Yeah, so we're at $2,500 sterling, which is about what, $3,500–4,000?
About 3,000. Yeah,
something like that, depending on the exchange rate. So we're halfway towards our first target. So please do donate if you enjoy the programs. And I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Stephanie. Stephanie, is anyone else joining that I need to know about?
Pardon me?
Is anyone else joining that I need to know about?
Yeah, we may have two others. Erica Welling, who will be joining us for a little bit. She's preparing for her session, which is after ours. Yep. And our friend Lori Jenks may be arriving. She had some things. She was stuck in traffic, so we'll see if she makes it. She's in Southern California.
Okay, just send me a WhatsApp when she's on, and I'll just put her on. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Have a great one. Thank you. I'll be back soon.
Thank you. Take a well-deserved break. Those little cat naps will make you live. We've all done that. So again, I'm going to reintroduce us. We are super happy to be here. It's 2 to 3 in the morning, our session, GMT. Much more civilized on the West Coast, where it's a few minutes after 7. Dana, it's a few minutes after 10, right? And Diane, it's 2 hour time difference. God, we'll get into this immediately.
9 o'clock.
Kind of hard, right? So what we're going to do is go through and do a little bit of trivia, talk a little bit about Vegas. For those that are not aware, the city is starting to open up. It's very exciting. The little kids got to go back to school this week on a hybrid platform, which is so fantastic, right? At the beginning of, on the 15th, we go up to 250 people, up to 1,000. It's separated out, except that our seated venues are already open. The Golden Knights won last night at T-Mobile, I believe, and I think overtime for the first time in over a year with a live audience. So that was very exciting. And then we have NASCAR here in town over the weekend. It'll be loud. It'll be loud. But at the racetrack, and both venues are doing 15% for the moment. They're just trying to make sure they've got all the kinks worked out as we reopen, and everybody wants to do it safely. The last thing we need is a super spreader event, right? So that's about it. So let's start with an easy one. How many hotel rooms are there in Las Vegas? What do you think, Dana? You're on mute. You're on mute. Unmute yourself.
It's so funny. You said that to me, that I remember thinking 4 hours ago that I was like, I can't even venture a guess. So I'm going to say something. I'm going to throw a complete guess out, and I'm going to say 10,000 rooms.
All right. 10,000 rooms in Las Vegas? No, we have a few more than that. Diane, what do you think?
I was going to say about 100,000.
Yeah. 100. Yeah. So pre-COVID, it was 149,422 hotel rooms, right?
I knew I was
now with Resorts World, which is right down the road from me. I live in downtown Las Vegas. Coming online, they're adding an additional 3,500 hotel rooms.
Wow.
Massive, right? Massive.
Resort World, is that the one that's a 21 and older crowd?
No, that's not a 21 and older. That would be Circa that just opened up downtown Las Vegas. It's our first new 5-star hotel, owned by the same people as the D. And it's very exciting. It's very nice. They card everybody walking in. They don't care what color your hair is. If you could be a 70-year-old gray-haired grandma, they don't care. You better have ID because they're not letting you in. I was over there a few days ago. Everybody's doing the safety thing. You got to be wearing a mask everywhere. And actually had lunch with a friend. Had a business lunch with a friend. Restaurant was great. It was a Chinese restaurant, new Chinese place downtown, which is nice. Yeah. What's your favorite hotel, Diane, when you come here? I'm not with the LVCVA, just having a chat with our friends.
Well, Bellagio is my favorite. I've done events there. The staff are fabulous. The hotel itself is fabulous. The restaurants, everything. And it's my favorite.
Yeah. And Dana?
So to stay in, if I'm traveling at conventions, it's the Delano, formerly the hotel. But if I'm going to be an event and be in an atmosphere, it would be the Wynn.
All very fine hotels. The Delano is really nice. It's attached to Mandalay Bay, the other side of the casino, right across from the House of Blues. One of my favorite places to see a show live when we're back to concerts. All the rooms are suites, so that makes it really nice because you actually have a separate bedroom, and I think it's got 2 bathrooms too. So they're very nice, very posh. In fact, we were all there in October for Expo Recovery. Which was a conference that took place with about 30 of us trying to figure it all out. And Diane and Dana both flew in and did that whole experience.
That was my first flight.
Yeah. Right? What did it feel like to fly? Crazy, right?
It was kind of nice though, because it wasn't crowded and the airport wasn't crowded. So you could just get to, there was no stress. So that part was really nice.
Yeah, there was definitely peaks and valleys to it. I was worried about how I was going to respond to having a mask on for all that time. I was a little woogie about that, but I got to see Nicole at the airport. But it was kind of nice not having all the hustle and bustle and sort of having the leg into it, shall we say?
And I appreciated having the seat next to me empty for my first flight, because I was like, oh, do I really want people breathing on me? Even though they have masks on, I was like, you don't have that 6 feet apart. But it was nice to have the empty seat, and I was very relaxed. It was nice.
Yeah. You mentioned the Wynn, which is also one of my favorite hotels. They have probably one of my favorite bars. It's called the Parasol upstairs bar. It's the Up Parasol, because there's one downstairs as well. It's just really beautiful. The Wynn has a gorgeous garden, and they change it out every season, in an indoor garden, and every season they change it out. So for Chinese New Year's, it's done up. I was there in December, did a walkthrough. It was very safe at the time, midweek, and they had everything decked out as a village, as a charming winter village, and very high end. It's a lovely, lovely, quiet place. And then the Bellagio, of course, has their famous gardens that they change out. I don't know if anybody ever caught anything on either the Discovery or PBS. I'm such a geek. But to see how they managed to make these changes in a few days is unbelievable. I mean, they rip everything out because the stuff there is growing. It's live. If you touch it, it's real.
Yeah.
Did you see something on television about how they do that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think if you Google it, you can check it out. And it's the Bellagio Gardens. Yeah, they've got a few things on that, which is really interesting. All right, time for another. Here's a good one. Another trivia question. True or false? The Strip is located in the city of Las Vegas.
I'm going to go false.
I'm going to say false only because it sounds like a tricky question, and I have no idea what the real answer is.
It's actually not in the city of Las Vegas.
Okay.
It's actually, like the convention center's in the city of Paradise.
Okay.
Kind of funny. Well, it's actually more like a township, in kind of the unincorporated area of Clark County.
Okay.
So, so the Strip really isn't in Vegas, even though it is in Vegas.
Okay.
It is. Now, gambling is something a lot of people do here. We know. And a lot of other folks like to do stuff like dine. Got a lot of really good restaurants. Diane, you've done a bunch of events here. What are a couple of your favorite things that are non-gaming that people can do when they come here instead of, be on the show floor or be in a meeting room? What else could they be doing?
Well, my favorite activities that we've done at Vegas was the foodie tour, which I thought was phenomenal. They really.
And the foodie tour, for those that don't know, is you pay a fee and you get to go to a bunch of restaurants where you get an appetizer or a main course and a cocktail included. And you go to 3, 4, 5 places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like a progressive dinner party. Where you go in with a group. It's so much fun.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, and it's very well organized. The people that put that together are just really have their game on. That was really a fun event.
And they have different ones. They started right before the pandemic and the shutdown. They had started one for our Asia town, Chinatown, Spring Mountain.
Oh, very fun.
Which is fun. They have another one downtown and another one that's more in the resort corridor, as we call the Strip. It's the resort corridor, for those who know.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's pretty interesting. All right. Las Vegas has 3 of the top. Sorry, Diane, I interrupted you. You were talking about the other places. So the fast foodie tour, where else?
Oh, so we did an event, a private event, where we went to the NASCAR racetrack and we did kind of like a clown circus. We used Mini Cooper cars and we had teams, 3 people in a car, and they had to ride around the track, and the driver, the professional driver, would put them into a spin. Now, Stephanie was in the car. I had GoPros on the outside of the car and on the inside of the car, so you could hear the people behind you screaming at the driver. It was hysterical. You participated, Stephanie. What did you think?
It was a lot of fun. The hardest part was getting out because the driver would just sit in the passenger seat, and it was a 2-door, so you had to actually flip the seat and then climb over it and get back in.
Yeah, so everybody had to switch positions because everybody had to drive, right?
And everybody was very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And some people really should not be allowed to be behind the wheel of a vehicle. I don't care if it's on a closed racetrack or not with a professional driver, but it was a whole lot of fun. Something else that I just went to again recently, I've been to several times. It's walking distance from where I live. Is the Mob Museum, which has been rated in the top 10 of all museums in the U.S. It's really interactive and it's about the mob, and they change it around. And I went on Valentine's Day. They made it free for Nevada residents on Valentine's Day, and it was kind of in honor of the Valentine's Day massacre. Kind of.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
well.
And it was a lot of fun. It's a 4-story building. It used to be a post office. No, wait, it used to be a bank or a post office. Not sure which, but there's a vault in there. And they update and even with the pandemic, they give you little, I don't know, metal things that you could hit all you could activate the interactive exhibits with. Say that a few times fast. That was not easy to say. So you could just, instead of pushing the button with your finger, you could push it with this little thing. And they've done just a phenomenal job. I tell people when they go, plan 3 hours, and they look at me as if I've grown a second head.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3 hours later, I get a call saying, "Oh, we're heading down to the speakeasy for a cocktail."
Yeah. And that's another great venue to rent out to do murder mystery dinners and stuff with your group. That's a lot of fun. So
they even have a replica of a courthouse in there. And it's fabulous. And they do have a speakeasy. And when things are back to normal, we're not in COVID times, you actually have to knock on the door and give the password, which you have to ask for when you pay, when you go in through the whole museum. It's pretty fun. It's very cleverly done. And they make beautiful handcrafted drinks that are not crazy expensive. So something else fun to know.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
In Vegas.
Right?
Well, like you could say that about any city, but
yeah. All right. So we're in about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
For those of you just joining us, I'm Stephanie Selesnick in Las Vegas. We've got Dana Lupton in Connecticut and Diane Bjorklund outside of Chicago. We are all trade show professionals. We're on the trade show side here to support EventWell and this 24-hour marathon that Dan and company have put together. please make sure you click on the appropriate links and donate. Doesn't take much. $10 is great. For the rest of the world that's awake, please donate. We know that a lot of our friends in Europe are busy asleep. It's between 2 and 3 in the morning there. Okay, so besides the strip and gambling, there are a few other places that you can go in terms of nature outside Las Vegas. There is Red Rocks, which is actually a national monument. And they've got a 13-mile drive, so you can actually, or 17-mile drive. Maybe I'm confusing it with Pebble Beach, that area in California. But you can actually go drive around and see all of these incredible formations, pull off anywhere, and go hiking. It's wear good shoes because it's very sandy. We are in the desert here, and it's quite beautiful. It's elevated. Las Vegas is actually kind of a mountain valley. We're up about 3,000 feet, about 1,000 meters. So if you're out of breath when you come here, maybe that's why. Just saying. Just saying.
Hiking trails there?
They've got tons of hiking trails, and it's a very popular. And also, people go rock climbing there.
Oh, really cool. Okay.
Yeah, very cool. And I've been there before when they've had snow on the ground. Of course, that was in winter. So it's a lot of fun. Right now, they're requesting people make reservations to get in, just to limit again because of COVID. And somewhere else that also has fabulous rocks, it's about a 45-minute drive north of Las Vegas on the 15, the major freeway here. And it's called the Fountain of the Help. Here we go. Valley of Fire, which I've actually been to several times. And you have to pay to get in, but once you pay, it's another national park. You go around a bend, and all of a sudden you just see the most vibrant rock formations and colors you've never seen before. It kind of reminded me of New Mexico, or maybe Sedona in Arizona. It was, but very, very vibrant. And there are a bunch of places to go hiking. You can see petrified logs. You can go through a slat canyon, which is one of those canyon walls where they're really narrow and you walk through them sideways.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you never want to do that during rainy season.
That would be intimidating.
Yeah.
It would be extremely intimidating. So that's another really, really cool place to go when you're here. And then, of course, have you guys ever been to the dam, the Hoover Dam?
I have.
I think I have.
I have.
Yeah, I think I have.
But it was many, many years ago.
Years and years ago.
Years and years and years ago. It's one of the engineering marvels of the world. It's huge. It took only 5 years to build, believe it or not. And when they built the dam, they knew that it was such an engineering marvel that they built the tour alongside of it so that you could go by and see some of the turbines and see the ground and see where they dug in and see how it worked, because they always knew that tourists would want to come and check it out. Which was something I didn't know until I took the tour.
Well, that was well planned out.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. How many places have you been all over the world where they actually knew then it was going to be something stupendous and that people would want to go check out how it was built?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm almost positive I've been there. But it is, you wouldn't think it would be a sight to see, but it's a sight to see.
It truly is. And they built a new bridge across to Arizona. So you're really on the border of Nevada and Arizona. And I have been known to forget which turnoff it is, even though it's the last one, and gone across the bridge, had to turn around, come back. It's an oops one day. So those are some other fun things. All right. So I'm going to ask the ladies. Okay, we did. Dana, what was your first Vegas memory as either a tourist or an exhibition professional?
So this is really embarrassing. So I was fortunate enough to obviously produce events in Vegas. And 1 or 2 years, I was fortunate enough to bring my daughter out early. She had break at the same time. And so it was a beautiful night one night, and I took her down to the strip, and I thought, wouldn't it be fun to take her to the, where the pirate ship is, and she can watch one of those shows. I think I'm feeling like Mother of the Year, working mother. I'm getting it done. I'm being a mom, And then the show starts at like 9 o'clock, and it hasn't dawned on me yet that there's no kids around. I just, the scene opens, and the ladies start swinging, and the shirtless men start swinging, and I suddenly realized that there's no other children there, and it really wasn't an age appropriate show. So that's my first memory as a tourist, as a mother. It was an epic fail.
Well, I don't know. I think my mom would call it, they got an eyeful.
I think, how can we go for ice cream or something and so yanked her out of there. And then as a professional, I wrote it down. I'm going to let Diane jump in while I remember. Oh, I remember what it was. It was right after an acquisition, and it was an acquisition I was really, really excited about. And we were hosting, as QuestX, our first event in the spa market, the largest event in the spa market, and it was really exciting. So the whole team was there, so it was fun. And that's just one of those huge moments where, after an acquisition, I was excited to see it. So we had a good time.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. I know that show. It's a very nice show still.
Yeah.
Still a very nice show.
Yeah.
Spa shows, people, if you can get into them, bring some cash, bring your card, hit the cash and carry folks on the last day, even though they're not supposed to. Guess what? They don't want to pack it up and send it home.
They don't.
Right?
They do not.
That would be my favorite kind of show. I have 2 daughters too, so I would really bring in my credit card and my cash.
Yeah, both, right? But they're still spectacular shows, and they'll be back.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll be back. And then Diane, what about you?
I can't remember the first trade show that I went to in Vegas, but I do remember.
How about a memorable one?
Okay, so I did go to Black Hat in Vegas. And
why don't you tell everybody what Black Hat is?
Well, so Black Hat is it's kind of a hacker conference. It's all about cybersecurity, and they have this game where you have to find the Fed, pick the Fed. So they try to guess who law enforcement officers are and stuff. It's a very interesting show. But my favorite part of it was not during the show, but I was walking through the Four Seasons, and I was with my husband because he was an attendee at Black Hat at the time. And he stopped this man and said, "Excuse me, Stephen, have you met my wife, Diane?" It was Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. So he's like, "No, I haven't had the pleasure." So I got to meet him and had my picture taken with him. Because
that's a great memory.
Oh my God.
Really funny. I was like, why would he know me? My husband's like, yeah, but I got to introduce you. So it's kind of fun.
Oh, that was way fun. Too bad you didn't have tickets to the show, too. You couldn't go, oh, do you have happen to have a spare set of tickets for your show?
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one.
It was a fun one.
That's definitely a fun one. I think the first time I came to Vegas as an adult was to see the Grateful Dead with a bunch of college friends. And it was held at a venue that no longer exists and that has been rebuilt. But that was the first one there. My first real work one was a CES. And we were promoting CES Mexico. So this was in the 90s. And we were selling the show. And so we were guests of CES, and I was staying at Mandalay. I was staying at the MGM. Here's an interesting factoid, trivia tip. So the MGM Grand has 5,005 hotel rooms.
Wow.
The reason it has 5,005 is because the year that it was built, or when it was built, they wanted to be the biggest in the world, and there was already another hotel, probably in Florida somewhere, that had 5,000 rooms.
So they won 5,000.
So they had to top it by 5.
They had to top it by 5.
That's great.
Everything's bigger and better, right? In Vegas. So I was there. We had gone to the international reception, had a very good time, and went to bed, to get good sleep for the next day's show. And all of a sudden I hear the sound of rain. I'm 35 floors up. What the heck is going on? So it finally dawns on me, wait, it shouldn't be raining. And I even got up out of bed, and there were 2 beds, and I went and looked out the window to see if it was raining outside, because it was January in Las Vegas. You never know. We do get rain here a little bit. And no, it was coming from the ceiling into the bed across from me. Turned out that somebody had broken a fire, like the sprinkler. They had tried to hang something on it in their hotel room. And I was 2 floors down from there. So it was already passing through another room to get to me.
Wow.
So I called downstairs and I said, hello, it's raining in my room. And they said, excuse me? And I said, there's water coming down from the room above me. It's raining in my room. Long story short, I finally ended up in another room about 3 hours later. And then had to go to show floor the next morning anyway, because that's what we do as event professionals, right? It doesn't matter what we do, but there you go. So that was one of my very first Vegas experiences. Little did I know that I would end up living here and happily living here. But it was a very different city then. And I think it'll be a little different as we come out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has changed a lot over the years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. What place have you been to in Las Vegas that has the best view?
I put down the Stratosphere, but that was because it was so high up. But I think I've been in other, more strip related, closer to the strip, and I couldn't come up with a good answer.
Yeah.
So Diane, you go. Help me out here.
Okay, what about the new Caesars Forum? What is it? Nobu with the suites on top. That's pretty sharp. That is nice.
For the middle of the strip, it's somewhere. It's a little gem that's tucked away. So yeah, it's called Hotel Nobu, and it's and a lot of people rent the suites out for parties, but they're very, very strict on the numbers and who gets to come up, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a really, really well designed space. It's indoor, outdoor, and been there a couple of times. Been very nice. Very nice place. I would have to say where I live.
You have beautiful views there too. I should have said your place.
I live in a loft downtown, and it faces the strip. So every 4th of July and New Year's, I have the party at my house.
Oh, I bet you do.
I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to drive anywhere. And hopefully people won't get too drunk and they don't, go from there. But actually, the Stratosphere is great. I'm 1.5 miles north of the Stratosphere. And the view from the top of it is pretty amazing. There's something, they do a charity event every year where people run up the inside of the Stratosphere, like 40 or 50 floors or even more. I don't even know how many floors it is, but they race up to the top to make money for charity. I believe it's for MS.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. It is.
Do they have, ambulance waiting for those of us?
They ride up in an elevator?
Yeah. They're probably up on top with oxygen.
Yeah, it's a defibrillator ready to shock me back.
But if you think about it, it hurts a lot more to go downstairs after a while.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Impressive.
Yeah. It's quite impressive how they do that. This year they were trying to do it virtually, and I'm not sure how they were going to do that. I just caught that on the news. Like they were going to do it virtually, and I thought, but it's the tallest building, I think, west of the Mississippi, possibly. So it's kind of hard to tell. It's definitely kind of hard to tell. All right. So again, I want to reintroduce ourselves just because people are going in and out on different on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. And I'm Stephanie Selesnick out of Las Vegas. I'm president of International Trade Information. Diane Bjorklund with EventWell out of Chicago. And Dana Lupton, entrepreneur extraordinaire out of Connecticut. And look, we've got Dan.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I just had a sneezing fit.
Uh-oh. Are you?
I heard about your because I've been to Vegas. Let me tell you about my trips.
Okay, definitely.
Well, I can tell you what I can tell you on air.
Yeah, exactly. There's always the stories that we really can't tell, or we have to change the names to protect the not so innocent.
I once went. I had a stag do, so a whole bunch of English chats went across. So I said to my wife, "Why don't we go first for a bit?" You know. So I went with her first. My wife's Natalie, who's probably trying to sleep. I've probably woken her up with the Mexican DJ. My kids. So we ended up going together, stayed at the Bellagio, which is amazing. The waterfall feature there, which everyone goes for. And then after 5 days, I dropped her at the airport. She went home, and I had all my people. No, it wasn't my stag. My friends turned up, and I ended up staying 11 days in Vegas.
Wow!
Oh my gosh! Wow!
And I think I spent double what I spent on my honeymoon. And I tell you, like, you know what it's like there, right? So this was in I think August, so it was like 120 degrees. And obviously the air is like a hairdryer, which is not something I'd ever sort of experienced before. And obviously you're stuck in these hotels with air conditioning, and then you come out into this waft of heat. But an amazing place. I really like the downtown.
That's and
I went
that's where I
last
live.
year. Oh, is it? Okay, so I went. I think you were just talking about CES. Sorry, you were talking about CES, but I went to AWS.
Amazon Web Services.
Yeah, so December 9th. December 19th.
Was it the 19th? Was it 2019?
Yeah, so the last one they've managed to do.
That was good.
So,
that was good. I went to the concerts afterwards. That was really good.
Yeah, it was amazing. But I didn't realise, because I'd never been. So I thought my hotel's about 10 minutes away. I was staying at what's the one that's like a fairy tale? What's the with? Like
the Excalibur.
Yes, mad.
It's kind of, yeah.
So I thought
there's a reason rooms are $39.
I thought, well, I'm not going to say anything against my old company. So actually, they were $39 then for AWS. That's the other thing you probably spoke about, like the hotel. I think the whole trip cost about $10,000, including the ticket. Anyway, so I thought it would take me 10 minutes to get in. And I reckon from the hotel to actually entry was about an hour and a half, because just to get down the strip, through the hotel lobby, into the thing was just madness. And obviously the suffering, right? Because they couldn't have those sorts of exhibitions on recently.
Yeah. They Amazon Web Services did a whole huge concert in the festival showgrounds down here, down by me, and the Foo Fighters played.
Wow!
And so did her.
Wow!
And yeah, there was some really good music, and they also did drone shows, which was pretty cool. Which was very cool. Oh, look, we've got Erica.
Hello,
another Vegas personality. Erica, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Erica Welling, and I have a company called Blends Events in Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegasite like Stephanie is. I've been here since 1992. Wow. And my husband was born and raised here, so I have a lot of conversation about Las Vegas and have done some amazing events here in Vegas, and I have a passion for it. I've been involved with the Las Vegas Hospitality Association for over 20 years. So I'm not trying to age myself, but there you go.
Just good lighting. That's all. Little makeup, some good lighting. You're good to go. Good to go.
Yeah, I hope that works.
Thanks for joining, Erica. I know we've got a session in 20 minutes or so. So thanks for joining early.
Yeah, don't want to like charge in on your all session, but Stephanie asked if I wanted to give a couple of minutes just to add anything to what you guys were saying, because I've been here for so long.
Right? Right. So what do you think is the best view in Vegas, Erica?
Your apartment or your condo. It's true. And she invites everybody that comes to town to go over to Stephanie's place for a party and some tequila shots.
And food. And food. I have the world famous guacamole, don't forget.
That's true.
He is an excellent cook too.
Yeah. Here's the tip for the best guacamole, the easiest guacamole ever. Just take some wonderfully ripe avocados, fresh lime juice, salt, pepper, maybe a little cilantro, coriander, fresh coriander for those of you across the pond and other places. I've learned there are different experience. It's really fun to go to supermarkets in other countries. And some either white onion or red onion, thinly chopped, and some fresh tomato. Blend it all together, call it done. That's it. No cream.
I cheat a little bit.
What do you put? Oh, how do you start? What do you do?
Well, I do the cilantro, coriander for those over the pond. And I just take pico de gallo and salt and lemon and lime, and call it a day. Pico de gallo is, for those that don't know it, is a Mexican chopped up cilantro, onion, and tomato. It's already done for you, and some jalapeno.
It's delicious.
Yeah, that sounds really good too.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Yep. So besides my place, where do you think is, like, if you were going to recommend people when they come to Vegas, go for a view?
So one of my favorite places is the bar at, now it's the Ritz-Carlton. Used to it used to be the Mandarin. There's a little cocktail bar there, and they used to have high tea when it was the Mandarin. It's now
in City Center, right? The one in City Center?
Yes, it's in City Center. It's beautiful, and it's just a great view. Believe it or not, across the street, the Hard Rock Cafe on the second and third floor also has a great view. Mandalay Bay has some wonderful bars at the very top.
Yeah.
Foundation Room and some of the other ones at the top of Delano, which is one of the towers.
Here's the secret to get into the Foundation Room. It's supposedly a private club, but it's not really anymore. All you do is wander around the casino floor of Mandalay Bay, and you'll see some guys that are in suits and ties, and since they're the only ones in suits and ties, they stick out and say, "Hey, I want to go to the Foundation Room. I hear it's really cool." And they'll give you passes to go up.
That's easy enough.
That's how you do it. Yep. You don't need to pay a couple $1,000s a year to be a member. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. Up, Rachel.
Yeah,
Hi, Rachel Wimberly. Yep, the Foundation Room. There are a lot of memories there. A lot of memories there. All right. So how much rain does Vegas average per year?
I'll answer that after you all try to guess.
Let them guess first.
I'm going to be as bad.
We are the desert.
Right.
I'm going to go 12 inches. I don't know.
I'm going to go 30.
Erica? Wait, Dan?
It's going to be way higher, right?
Average rain per month?
No, for the year.
For the
annual
year.
rainfall in Las Vegas.
Well, it's probably I mean, London probably has 1 day of rainfall the same as the whole year of Vegas. But do you want it in inches? Is it in inches?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I that's the one thing I'm bad at, the millimeters and inches.
God
the rest
knows.
Of it, I can do Fahrenheit to centigrade. I can do meters to feet.
Do you want a quick calculation of centigrade to Fahrenheit? So you double it and add. Hold on, I've just times by 9 divided by 5, add 32. I don't know how I remember that.
That's a lot of math. Okay, Erica, what do you think?
Well, I reckon 30 inches.
30.
I would say 3 to 4 inches.
Less than 5 a year.
Less
than
than
5
5.
inches of rain a year. And they usually come in like 3 or 4 days. Boom, boom, boom. And then we haven't had the monsoon the last couple of years, but usually in the summer, you'll see just this huge storm blow through the whole valley from one side to the other. It'll rain, thunder, lightning, everything. And then 20 minutes, everything's dry again.
That's bizarre.
Crazy.
It's the desert.
And flash floods are very, very dangerous. I mean, believe it or not, the flash floods in Las Vegas are really dangerous.
Yeah.
That's why we have aqueducts everywhere.
Even 5 inches of rain? I mean, That's
that's what I'm thinking. Flash forward with 5 inches of rain.
Quarter inch of rain. Whoosh! There's like all kinds of flooding happening. For the rest of you, you would be thinking about maybe putting on something over your head, and the whole city here is flooded. Truly.
There's really cool ancient pictures of Caesar's Palace, the very famous front, the original front of Caesar's Palace, with the rotunda fountains that have the statues in there, and they used to have parking actually in the front of Caesar's Palace around that little rotunda fountain. Famous pictures of the flood that went right under, because that's a natural like flood area where the waters kind of congregate, and it goes right through Caesar's across the strip underneath Imperial Palace, which is not Imperial Palace anymore. It is
what, Flamingo or
right across the street. Now I'm having a senior moment.
So am I.
The link. The link.
Yeah, the link, right? Yeah. The link, that whole area right in there, the link, that whole area. I would never park underground. I would never park there because as soon as if there's any rain in the forecast, that whole area just the news always puts people there because it's one of those spots where they're going to get the water gushing through the car park. So I know
5 inches.
I know. And a number of years ago, we actually do get snow once in a while.
We got snow this year,
exactly twice. We get snow. Not much. But we
had
some.
We had a lot this year, actually. It covered the whole valley. It was fun. People were making snowmen.
This much snow. The rest of you would be laughing at us. I think Diane's puppy has seen more snow this year, but it's been good. All right, so let's see. What else did I have? I had we had gone through a few of these. So restaurants. We'll end with restaurants because restaurants are one of my favorite things in the world. I love to eat food. So we know that a number of restaurants will not be coming back, but a greater number are going to come back, and they're going to come back stronger. Many of them are open. Here we've got 35% inside dining, 100% outside dining, and right now the weather is very nice, occasionally windy. It's about 19 to 21 degrees Celsius, 68 to 72 approximately Fahrenheit, and so you can sit outside and not freeze to death, which is wonderful. But Erica, what recommendations do you have that are off the strip for people coming to Las Vegas when we reopen?
Well, I was thinking about this when you asked me to join you for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to insert just some old history about Las Vegas. Everybody associates Las Vegas with the mob. And as you know, I did, because Stephanie is familiar with my whiskey client, which I love so much. And we did their very high-end whiskey and really high-end client. We did this mob escape. And so one of the best restaurants across from the convention center is Piero's. And that used to be the old Villa d'Este, which was a mob hangout. And the current owner, Freddie G, actually has a lot of mob affiliates. Of course, he's Jewish, but the Jewish mob and the Italian mob they were always really good connected together, as you can tell by our famous ex-mayor, Mayor Goodman, Oscar Goodman, who was the mob's attorney for a long time. So go figure that we would have a mayor that used to be the mob's attorney. And he was at my whiskey event and addressed the event with also the with Freddie G. It was really funny because Freddie G has this really gravelly voice, but
older guy looks, the full-on stereotype.
Exactly.
His son now mostly runs the restaurant. He shows up in the evenings when they're open again. And for those of you that will be coming to Las Vegas and seeing our new West Hall, that restaurant is located directly across the street.
Yeah, and it's fabulous food. And Freddie G still has a say-so in all of the food. For instance, if they have crab, it's fresh. It's coming direct from wherever they're getting it from across the nation, flown in fresh every day. So they only get the best of food. It is fabulous food. And the locals, as well as tourists, go to that restaurant. I see famous locals there all the time, and you can see around the whole room different name tags of famous locals who are either alive or dead that frequented the restaurant. And there's still some really good entertainers that go there as well that are real famous. And then the second one, which is also mob related, is the Golden Steer, which is on Sahara. And the mob used to go in the back door behind Golden Steer to their own little private room. And it's a fabulous steakhouse with great food. And that also has mob history. And you can see all the banquettes where people have frequented there at the Golden Steer.
Very good.
Both
Okay.
excellent.
Yeah.
Both excellent. I'm going to suggest a place downtown called Esther's Kitchen.
You do that one.
It's a good
It's
one.
a local entrepreneur guy who grew up here and then also Los Angeles. And I've taken Diane there. And Erica, you've been, right? Have you been to
Yep.
Esther's?
Oh,
Yep.
no, I haven't been to Esther's yet, actually.
We will take care of that in the next couple of weeks.
But
will
we had
go.
them as a guest on the Southwest IAEE.
IAEE chapter. Yep. During the
Right.
pandemic, during lockdown, the chef cooked for
Thanks
us
to you.
for a live event.
Yeah.
For our chapter. So really phenomenal, creative Italian food, or Italian inspired, and some is traditional. They make their own bread and pasta. So as you can tell, we're getting into dinner time here, Dan. And you've got several hours to go, you poor thing. How are we doing? How are we doing on money? Have we raised any more? Do we need to get the word out?
Not at the moment. We're still at around $2,500 sterling, which is $4,000, I think.
3,000. So let your friends know. Tell your friends. This is going to be going on for another 16 hours?
3 weeks.
17 hours? 3 weeks.
Well, in all seriousness, it's once it's on the page, it's then straight on demand. So people might be watching this on demand, but generally, if you need to check out or you can't make all the programs, you can check back in at any time, and they're on the page, and they'll be on the page. And what I'm going to do as well, I'll cut up bits and pieces, and I'll put them into a film, and so it's not finished even after today.
So I had a question for you, Dan. What
Yes.
inspired you to do something as crazy as a 24-hour marathon?
It's a very good question that I'm currently now asking myself at 4 a.m. This time last year, I had quite a senior position in a big trade show company, and what date we were literally going to go on site next week, and then the pandemic hit, so we managed to go on site, and then UK locked down 3 days later, so it was a bit of a bloodbath to show. Obviously,
Ouch.
the exhibitors, most of them didn't turn up because it was a big tech show, so Oracle, IBM, all that sort of stuff. And some delegates turned up, but a lot of people banned their staff from going, even in the UK, never mind internationally. That doesn't answer your question at all. I don't know why I told you that. I think where I was going to go.
So how did you end up getting? Yeah. So you
Yeah,
were.
so-
you after having a hellacious March last year.
So 6 months after, I ended up moving on from the company because of the situation. And so, a long answer to your question, I woke up one day in October thinking, right, what am I going to do to fill my time? So I started doing these sort of talks, like I know you do, Steph and Erica, and probably others, because I've just come off the back of hosting a virtual event for cybersecurity, and I quite enjoyed it. So I reached out to some friends. Do you want to go online with me? Everyone's at home. Yeah, we do it. And then it snowballed. And actually, I really enjoyed doing it. People seem to like the content because more people have been on screen the last 8 months. I got a lot of viewers. And then I thought about 3.5, 4 weeks ago, wouldn't it be great if all these newfound friends I've got, if I managed to get them into one place over a period, right? So I think I posted up earlier on LinkedIn a video with the original email that I sent to Helen Moon, the chief exec. It was on the 28th of January. So I've just woken up with this weird idea. How about a 24-hour fundraiser, right? I had no idea what it even meant. And here we are today with 300 participants over 24 hours. So you being 4 of them, so thank you. 27 companies involved, 5 continents, 8 countries. And it's just it's sort of blown my mind how it's all come together. it's just nuts.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a great
Very
idea.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes
well,
things
yeah,
go
well,
under the no good deed goes unpunished. You're up for 20. You're up for 48 hours.
That's exactly. Well, what I stupidly didn't do, I probably should have started midday UK to midday. Because then I could have slept the night before. But anyway, you know what is what it is.
Oh, you wouldn't have
But,
slept anyway, so you may as well be up doing something.
Yeah, why not? There's something to do, isn't it? So
I mean, how many of us as event professionals are like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to get 4 whole hours of sleep tonight. I'm so excited. I'm going to just have the best brain tomorrow. And then you're staring at the ceiling with all the things you got to do tomorrow or what had happened today. And then it's time to get up.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And you're just mad because you know you needed to sleep. And then you're talking to your team and you're like, how'd you sleep last night? And everybody's like, I slept great. I slept great. And you just want to kill them.
It's so funny because I made so many new friends virtually over the last 7 months, like thousands.
Me too.
You know, and it'd be really great to meet you guys and everyone else that I've all around the world that I've connected with. So I think for me, the one positive that's come out of this is all you good people that I've met. You know, I wouldn't have done that. I would have had my head down, you know, selling stands and doing something else. So that's,
I think that has been a huge benefit for people that have wanted to take advantage of it. There have been some opportunity.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm going to leave you all because I need to prepare for my cocktail, which
We'll
Stephanie,
see you.
you're
We'll
going
see
to
you in a
join
few
us for
minutes, Erica.
cocktails.
I got to get my tequila. When we
It
get
was
off here, I'm going to
great
grab my
spending time
tequila.
with you.
Great meeting you.
Thank you for
Dan,
coming and
Dana.
sharing your stories, Erica.
Erica,
It was fun.
Erica, just remember you've got a new link. Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
No, as in you're not.
Oh
using
no,
this link.
the one that you sent me. Yes.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
you mean a different link than this one?
Yeah, because I'm starting a new broadcast. Just a bit of advice: when you do LinkedIn Live, you can only do 4 hours at a time.
Oh.
Now I only realised this about 4 to 5 days ago. That's why I didn't send your links till late. If I didn't realise it, we would have got cut off now, and then the next person would be able to join. So I've had to set up 6 4-hour segments, which is why you've got different links after 4 in the morning, because this is the 4th hour. So there's a lesson. You got a bit of virtual event lessoning. Can't speak anymore.
Well, Dan, grab your coffee, and Steph, grab your tequila.
We'll see you. We'll see you. We'll
Dana
see you
and
on
Diane,
the top of the
have
hour.
a great evening.
Thanks, Erica.
I'll see you soon.
Okay,
bye.
bye.
Yeah, stand by. They're going to be doing some interesting things, hopefully, if all the tech works correctly.
Cool.
Erica was sharing with me, and it sounded like a lot of fun and worth checking out. Some augmented reality with cocktails. How could that be a bad thing? That's why Vegas is such a good lead-in.
It does sound different. It does sound different.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a plug for an
Yeah, go for it.
the exhibition think tank club.
Yes.
Is another really fabulous place if you're looking to meet other people and you're in the exhibition and trade show business. Take a look at it, Google it. We're all parts of it. Erica as well. Met a lot of really interesting people through it. And what it is it's talking about different areas of the business and how we think it can be improved. And having a chance to have deep conversations that, because we were always running from one event to the other, it's a chance to stop, get off the hamster wheel, as I call it, or the treadmill, and think about things. How can we make the industry better? How can hybrid be a better experience? Because we know we're going to be going into that. How can virtual be better? How can we make money from virtual and not have our exhibitors kill us?
Yeah.
Some good topics. Some good
Yeah,
topics.
no, I've seen that. So I did join up.
Just going to put a little word out there. It's just for those that feel like doing a little bit of deep thinking and not the usual. It's a good experience, and it's also a great way to meet people from all over the world.
Absolutely.
But in the meanwhile, you should be listening to this for the next 24 hours or 20 hours.
Yeah. Okay, listen, thank you, ladies. Diane, Dana.
Thank
Steph,
you.
you staying on? I can't remember. You're not staying on for a bit, or you are?
I have to go get on the other link because of LinkedIn.
Yeah. So am I. So I'm going to...
thank you for the opportunity. And ladies, thank you very much for staying up late and joining me for a little fun convo on Vegas. And everybody, don't forget to donate. Donate.
Thank you.
Cause.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys, so we are nearing the end of the first 4 hours. I'm going to switch to another link, and hopefully it'll work within LinkedIn, so you can only run 4 hours at a time on LinkedIn Live. So bear with me a couple of minutes while I do that.